The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the absence of clergy, let us bow our heads in a moment of silent reflection or prayer. Reading of the Journal.
In Senate, Monday, May 30th, 2022, Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Sunday, May 29th, 2022 was read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the Journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions. Messages from the Assembly. The Secretary will read.
Senator Krueger moves to discharge from the Committee on Investigation and Government Operations, Assembly Bill Number 8092B, and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 1958A, third reading count of 384. Senator Jackson moves to discharge from the Committee on Labor, Assembly Bill Number 286A, and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 1997A, third reading count of 393. Senator Harkin moves to discharge from the Committee on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, Assembly Bill Number 9344A, and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8057A, third reading calendar 350. Senator Brisport moves to discharge from the Committee on Children and Families, Assembly Bill Number 2150A, and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 6900, third reading count of 684. Senator Kaplan moves to discharge from the Committee on Insurance, Assembly Bill Number 8869B, and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 7658B, third reading count of 765. Senator Ramos moves to discharge from the Committee on Corporations, Authorities and Commissions, Assembly Bill Number 9622C, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8419B, third reading count of 845. Senator Kaplan moves to discharge from the Committee on Finance, Assembly Bill Number 9278, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8363, third reading count of 873. Senator Brooks moves to discharge from the Committee on Transportation, Assembly Bill Number 9081, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8512, third reading count of 915. Senator Breslin moves to discharge from the Committee on Insurance. Assembly Bill Number 8617 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 4329, third reading count of 1085. Senator May moves to discharge from the Committee on Finance. Assembly Bill Number 9298A is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8290A, third reading count of 1225. Senator Kennedy moves to discharge from the Committee on Elections. Assembly Bill Number 7748A is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 3855A, third reading count of 1423. Senator Gurnardes moved to discharge from the Committee on Rules. Assembly Bill Number 10190 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 9056, third reading count of 1465. Senator Parker moves to discharge from the Committee on Transportation. Assembly Bill Number 7016B is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 5899A, third reading count of 1534. Senator Mannion moves to discharge from the Committee on Finance. Assembly Bill Number 7357A is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 6274B, third reading count of 1535. Senator Sanders moves to discharge from the Committee on Banks. Assembly Bill Number 9659 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 7202A, third reading count of 1540. Senator Breslin moves to discharge from the Committee on Transportation. Assembly Bill Number 9906 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 7297, third reading count of 1543. Senator Brooks moves to discharge from the Committee on Transportation. Assembly Bill Number 9067A is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 7628, third reading count of 1546. Senator Stavisky moves to discharge from the Committee on Insurance. Assembly Bill Number 8537 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 7881, third reading count of 1548. Senator Ort moves to discharge from the Committee on Transportation. Assembly Bill Number 8534 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8056, third reading count of 1551. Senator Kaminsky moves to discharge from the Committee on Local Government. Assembly Bill Number 8600 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8082, third reading count of 1552. Senator Jackson moves to discharge from the Committee on Civil Service and Pensions. Assembly Bill Number 9738 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8584, third reading count of 1565. Senator Palumbo moves to discharge from the Committee on Transportation. Assembly Bill Number 9632 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8607, third reading count of 1596. Senator Kaplan moves to discharge from the Committee on Children and Families. Assembly Bill Number 9664 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 8677, third reading count of 1570. Senator Adabo moves to discharge from the Committee on Racing, Gaming, and Wagering. Assembly Bill Number 9962 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 9009, third reading count of 1582. Senator Cooney moves to discharge from the Committee on Investigations and Operations Assembly Bill number 10,066 and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 9013, third reading count of 1583. Senator Brooke moves to discharge from the Committee on Investigation and Government Operations Assembly Bill number 10,198A and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 9092A, third reading count of 1591. Senator Ramos moves to discharge from the Committee on Finance Assembly Bill number 10,147 and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 9333, third reading count of 1600. Senator Thomas moves to discharge from the Committee on Consumer Protection Assembly Bill number 7487 and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 9359, third reading count of 1606. Senator Sepulveda moves to discharge from the Committee on Cities 1 Assembly Bill number 10,150 substituted for the identical Senate Bill 9380, third reading count of 1610. Senator Kaminsky moves to discharge from the Committee on Local Government Assembly Bill number 10,121 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 9390, third reading count of 1614.
So ordered. Messages from the Governor, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, communications and reports from state officers, motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Madam President, amendments offered to the following third reading calendar bills by Senator Savino, calendar 1058, and by Senator Mayer, calendar 1274.
The amendments are received and the bills will retain their place on the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
Please recognize Senator Lanza.
Senator Lanza.
Madam President, Senators White and O'Mara move to amend the bill on the calendar, third reading, on page, what is that? I offer the following amendments to calendar 1595, print number 9145, and ask that said bill retain its place on the third reading calendar. On page number 50, I offer the following amendments to calendar 1573, print number 8743A, and ask that this bill retain its place on third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bills will retain their place on the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
Wait, I have a couple.
I'm
Additionally,
sorry,
Madam
Senator
President, and I have one after this.
Yes.
Additionally, Senator Gallivan moves to amend the bill recalled from the Assembly and calls up Bill print number 6551C, recalled from the Assembly, which is now at the desk.
The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 1056, Senate Print 6551C by Senator Gallivan, an act to amend the highway law.
I move to reconsider the vote by which the bill was passed.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White. Ayes 63.
The bill is restored to its place on the third reading calendar.
I now offer the following amendments.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place on the third reading calendar.
Madam President, Senator Steck moves to restore an amended bill. I move to amend Senate Bill number 7868B by striking out the amendments made on April 20th, 2022, and restoring it to its original print number 7868.
So ordered. Senator Gianaris.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to give members a sense of the proceedings on the floor today, we're going to have two separate Rules Committee meetings and try and execute those simultaneously to other activity taking place on the floor. So we're going to begin by calling the first Rules Committee immediately in room 332 and also move forward with taking up previously adopted Resolution 1703 by Senator Biaggi, reading its title and recognizing Senator Biaggi.
There'll be an immediate meeting of the first Rules Committee meeting in room 332, and the Secretary will read previously adopted Resolution 1703.
Senate Resolution 1703 by Senator Biaggi, mourning the death of Natalino Arrigioni, cherished family man, distinguished citizen, and devoted member of his community.
Senator Biaggi on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. I am grateful and also rise today with a heavy heart for one of my constituents. I will actually be doing this twice today, unfortunately. And my constituent, who was a not only longtime member of the community that I represent in District 34, but also was an incredibly proud Italian American. Born the oldest child of Eugenio and Giovanna Arrigoni in New York City in 1934, Natalino Arrigoni was raised in Piacenza in Italy, which is a small town where my family is actually from in northern Italy as well. He also lived in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and other places around the globe. Although he was born in the United States, Natalino's heart was in San Michele, Italy, where he spent the last 22 summers, visiting his childhood friends and relatives and playing briscola while enjoying a nice glass of Lambrusco, good copa, and formaggio. In New York, Natalino worked in construction during the week and spent his weekends working as a dishwasher at the Laurent restaurant. He soon began full-time at the restaurant in various roles, eventually becoming an owner with his childhood friend, Jimmy. As owner, Natalino was responsible for buying all of the food for the restaurant, and he spent many years leaving the house at 3 a.m. to go to the Fulton Fish Market in Hunts Point, which I also represent currently, as well as the Flower Market. After leaving the restaurant in 1991, he worked with his son and his son-in-law until he happily retired in 2009. He truly epitomizes what it means to be hardworking. He truly epitomizes the American dream. And Natalino and his wife, Anna, settled in Pelham Bay in 1965. While he was passionate about many things, above all, his greatest passion was being a husband to his wife of 60 years, as well as a father to his 2 children, Rita and Eugene, and a grandfather to his 5 beloved grandchildren, Stephanie, Mark, Michael, Christopher, and Jessica. Natalino's infinite selfishness and service will serve as a beacon of love, of light, and of hope to the countless lives that he touched. He certainly touched mine, and I'm very grateful to be able to recognize him today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Biaggi. The resolution was previously adopted on January 19th. Senator Serrano.
Thank you. Please take up previously adopted resolution 2630 by Senator Biaggi. Read that resolution title only and recognize Senator Biaggi on the resolution.
The Secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 2630 by Senator Biaggi, mourning the death of Helen Coughlin, distinguished citizen and devoted member of her community.
Senator Biaggi on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a second time today to recognize a constituent of mine who actually also happened to be my next-door neighbor and one of my closest friends' grandmothers, Helen Coughlin. Helen was born in London, England, and came to the United States in 1953. She would later marry Robert Coughlin and raise a family in New Rochelle, New York, while working at McGrory's in New Rochelle for the past 22 years, Helen is survived by her 2 children, Martin and Denise, who is a very dear friend as well, her daughter-in-law, her son-in-law, and 3 grandchildren, Kimberly, Joe, and Nicholas, as well as her grandson-in-law, Daniel. For the last 20 years, as I mentioned earlier, she lived in Pelham, next door to the house that I grew up in, enjoying time with family and friends, and she also enjoyed spending summer days at the Hudson and Davenport parks. But she most importantly enjoyed her family and spending time with them, as well as watching them all grow up, and frankly was a very proud grandmother. Helen distinguished herself in her profession and by her sincere dedication and substantial contribution to the welfare of her entire community. I am very proud to honor her life and her legacy today, and I have incredible condolences for the Garvey family as well as the Coughlin family. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Biaggi. The resolution was previously adopted on May 17th. Senator Serrano.
Thank you. Please take up previously adopted resolution 2732 by Senator Ort. Read that resolution title only and recognize Senator Ort on the resolution.
The Secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 2732 by Senator Ort, paying tribute to the life and valiant service of security guard and former Buffalo police officer Aaron Salter Jr., who died in the line of duty on May 14, 2022.
Senator Ort on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise here today to recognize and pay tribute, as I know we all do, to Aaron Salter. Aaron Salter resided in Lockport, New York, in my district, but was a retired Buffalo police officer. I think about the many nights where he was in danger as a Buffalo police officer. I think about the many nights that his family had to wonder if he was okay. All the people that he helped as a police officer, the lives that he saved as a police officer. And you retire and you're working security at a neighborhood grocery store. And no doubt he got to know the shoppers. No doubt he got to know that community who saw him not as a former police officer, but someone who was there, who knew them, who was there to protect them. Maybe from a shoplifter, a robbery at the store, maybe a fight. I'm certain that Officer Salter, never thought that the most dangerous thing he would ever encounter after serving on the Buffalo Police Department would be at a grocery store. I'm certain that he never thought he would have to give his life as a security guard at Tops Friendly Markets. But that's exactly what Aaron Salter did. Because that's what to serve and protect for him wasn't just the motto on the Buffalo Police cars. I think it epitomizes what many police officers believe. And I think it goes to show you that whether you're in uniform or out of uniform, whether you're an active officer or you're a retired officer, the ethos to protect and serve, the ethos to defend people who cannot otherwise defend themselves at that point, never goes away. I wish, with all my heart, that Aaron Salter was here today, along with the other victims, and I wish that Aaron Salter had been able to stop that shooter. But for a lot of reasons, he wasn't able to, but he did not go quietly into the good night. He didn't just let it happen. He didn't run away. He didn't stand outside. He engaged that shooter, and as a former police officer, I'll bet you he knew that he did so at likely the cost of his own life. But he did it anyways. And that makes him a hero. We just had Memorial Day this past weekend. And as anyone here who knows Senator Sanders, Senator Brooks, anyone who served, they will tell you that the real heroes are the folks who never come back home. And that is definitely true for law enforcement. It's certainly true for Aaron Salter and those victims. They are the heroes. Aaron Salter is the hero. He didn't make it back. That was his last duty station, but he didn't abandon his post. He defended those folks, and I believe that there are people who are alive because of the actions of Officer Salter, of Aaron Salter. And that is worthy of recognition on this floor. That is something that I know we all can agree on. We all can come together in support of Aaron Salter. And hopefully his memory inspires us as we go forward, both on this floor and in our own lives when we leave here. So, Madam President, I thank you for your indulgence, and certainly thank you for being able to recognize the heroic actions of Aaron Salter.
Thank you, Senator Ord. Senator Kennedy on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today to honor the life and legacy of a true hero, retired Buffalo Police Lieutenant Aaron Salter. Lieutenant Salter made the ultimate sacrifice for doing what he did throughout his entire career, protecting the community that he loved. When a racist mass shooter entered the Tops Friendly Market on Jefferson Avenue on May 14th, Lieutenant Salter was at his post as a security guard at the front door of the supermarket, welcoming guests and patrons that day. At that moment, that the coward showed his face to the world, Officer posthumously dedicated Lieutenant Aaron Salter immediately recognized the threat and responded with unparalleled bravery and courage. That day, 10 souls were lost, but Lieutenant Salter's quick action undoubtedly saved countless lives. While he confronted this racist killer and took him on. Customers and store employees had time to run out of the back of the store. Lieutenant Salter died a hero that day, but those that knew him recognized that he spent his entire life giving back to the community that he loved through his service each and every day. Lieutenant Salter had spent his entire professional life serving our community. He joined the Buffalo Police immediately after high school and spent 3 decades nobly serving the great people of Buffalo and Western New York. In his spare time, he was an amateur scientist and inventor, calling himself a jack of all trades and a master of none. He enjoyed working on motorcycles in his prized 1967 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. Lieutenant Salter lived an incredibly meaningful life. And most importantly, aside from his work dedicating to serving the people of our community, he cared most about his beloved family, his wife, Kimberly, his son, Aaron Salter III, daughters, Letitia and Tanya. He will always be remembered as a hero for his selfless actions on May 14th and for his decades of service to our community. At Aaron Salter's funeral, Commissioner Gramaglia posthumously presented him with Buffalo Police Department's Medal of Honor, the highest honor that can be bestowed on an officer for his sheer bravery in taking on the face of evil in order to save lives. In his final moments, Lieutenant Salter did what he has always done, protected our community. As a city, a state, and a nation, we owe him a debt of gratitude that can never be repaid. We can, however, dedicate our work and our lives to making the world a better place, stamping out racism, calling out white supremacy wherever we see it and whenever it rears its ugly head. Today, I'm proud to stand on the floor of the Senate to say thank you to Lieutenant Salter for his service, his dedication to our community, to our state, and to our nation. May he rest in peace.
The resolution was previously adopted on May 24th. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, at the request of the sponsors, the resolutions are open for co-sponsorship.
The resolutions are open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor of the resolution, please notify the desk. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, I believe there's a report of the Rules Committee at the desk. Can we take that up, please?
Secretary Reed.
Senator Stuart Cousins from the Committee on Rules reports the following bills. Senate Print 470 by Senator Hoylman, an act authorizing the Commissioner of Health to conduct a study and issue a report examining the unmet health and resource needs facing pregnant women in New York. Senate Print 1046E by Senator Myrie, an act to amend the election law. Senate Print 9039A by Senator Biaggi, an act to amend the civil rights law. Senate Print 9077A by Senator Krueger, an act to amend the criminal procedure law, the executive law, and the civil practice law and rules. Senate Print 9079B by Senator Kaplan, an act to amend the education law and the public health law. Senate Print 9080B by Senator Hinchey, an act to amend the insurance law. Senate Print 9288 by Senator Serino, an act to amend Chapter 476 of the laws of 1957. Senate Print 9384A by Senator Claire, an act to amend the executive law. All bills report direct to third reading.
Move to accept the report of the Rules Committee.
All those in favor of accepting the report of the Rules Committee signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The report of the Rules Committee is accepted. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, there's a privilege resolution at the desk, number 2849. Please take that up, read its title, and recognize Senator Mayer.
There is a privilege resolution at the desk. The Secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 2849 by Senator Mayer, concurrent resolution of the Senate and Assembly, providing for the election of one regent of the University of the State of New York.
Senator Mayer on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my honor to move the nomination of Dr. Roger P. Catania to be the member of the Board of Regents representing the 4th Judicial District. Unfortunately, in March of 2022, Regent Beverly Oderkirk, who many of us knew as an outstanding member of the Board of Regents, died at age 82. Her passing left a vacancy which we now move to fill. The 4th Judicial District includes the counties of Clinton, Essex, Franklin, Fulton, Hamilton, Montgomery, Saratoga, Schenectady, St. Lawrence, Warren, and Washington, much of the North Country of New York State, and it's extremely important that their voice be heard in the Board of Regents, representing particularly the rural school community. Dr. Roger P. Catania, who spent over 20 years in the Saranac Lake School District and the last series of years as superintendent there, is a distinguished educator who brings both the gravitas and the experience and the real-world knowledge that we need on the Board of Regents. I move his nomination and ask my colleagues to join me in voting for his nomination to the Board of Regents.
The question is on the resolution. The secretary will call the roll.
Stewart-Cousins-White.
Announce the results.
In relation to the nomination, voted in the negative is Senator Akshar. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The resolution is adopted. Senator Janaris.
Okay, Mr. President, at this time, we're going to simultaneously call the next Rules Committee meeting and take up the reading of the calendar, so there will be an immediate meeting of the Rules Committee in room 332, and please proceed with reading the calendar.
There will be an immediate meeting of the Rules Committee in room 332, and the calendar will proceed. Secretary Reed.
Calendar number 7, Senate Print 2951A by Senator Kavanaugh, an act to amend the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect January 1st, 2023.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins-White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 7, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberacker, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Oh, sorry. Ayes 47, nays 16.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 80, Senate Print 4738A by Senator Ramos, an act to amend the labor law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins-White.
Announce, oops. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 80, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Gallivan, and Griffo. Ayes 60, nays 3.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 118, Senate Print 7023A by Senator Mannion, an act directing the Commissioner of Health to conduct a study on the rates of reimbursement made through the New York State Medicaid,
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins-White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 234, Senate Print 660A by Senator May, an act to amend the highway law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins-White.
Result.
In relation to calendar 234, those senators voted in the negative are Senator Lanza, aye 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 235, Senate Print 1271A by Senator Brooks, an act to amend the Vehicle and Traffic Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 247, Senate Print 694A by Senator Kaplan, an act to amend the Executive Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 267, Senate Print 6617A by Senator Gurnardes, an act to amend the State Finance Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect January 1st, 2023.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 379, Senate Print 5420 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the Elder Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 384, Assembly number 8092B by Assemblymember Reyes, an act to amend the Labor Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 393, Assembly number 286A by Assemblymember Gunther, an act to amend the Labor Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 60th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Senator Jackson to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. My colleagues, I rise to support my bill S1997. And this legislation is a victory for patients, families, and the tens of thousands of hardworking nurses across New York State who support so many. Over a decade ago, the Senate passed well-intentioned limitations on mandatory overtime, but there was no enforcement mechanism. Employers continued to work nurses far beyond their assigned hours. Every day, nurses provide the highest quality patient care they can while understaffed and exhausted. Forced overtime is bad for all of us, impacting quality of care. No one benefits except healthcare tycoons who refuse to properly staff their facilities. This legislation creates fines between $1,000 and $10,000 for each employer infraction, while providing nurses an additional 15% in overtime pay. And with this passage of the bill, nurses, patients, and their families will have increased confidence as we begin to address chronic understaffing in all healthcare settings. After years of abuse, we are closer to achieving labor justice for our nurses. So I humbly ask my colleagues to join me in voting aye for better quality care for patients and families and clearer, enforceable rights on the job for thousands of nurses. Madam President, I proudly vote aye.
Senator Jackson to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Borrello on the bill.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, I certainly looked at this, and I understand the stress that our healthcare workers have experienced, but I also have to consider the fact that thanks to more than a decade of our previous governor cutting Medicaid reimbursements to our healthcare facilities, our nursing homes in particular, it has become more and more difficult. And we have yet to right that ship here in this chamber, in this legislature. They are getting far less now to care for patients than they did a decade ago. They're getting less per day to care for our most vulnerable citizens than a taxi driver gets to carry one patient to a doctor's appointment in a non-emergency situation, round trip, in my district, where one taxi driver could make upwards of $400 a round trip to take one person to one non-emergency medical appointment. Meanwhile, we pay on average about half of that to our nursing homes for all the things that they have to provide to care properly for someone. Unfortunately, that means we are short-staffed. We're also short-staffed because we don't have enough people in this field, in this occupation. We have not done a good job of recruiting people from other states. And in fact, there right now as we speak are a pile of approvals for people to be licensed in New York State that are in various healthcare fields sitting on the desk, backlogged, bottlenecked in our licensing department right now here in New York State. So until we address those problems, we cannot afford to further burden homes, nursing homes, that could end up closing as a result of bills like this. So I vote nay. Thank you.
Costello to be recorded in the negative. Senator O'Mara to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. Not to totally reiterate what Senator Borrello just had to say, but I concur completely in that and have significant concerns with this legislation. I laud its goal in avoiding mandatory overtime for workers in healthcare, but as has been said, we have a significant and overbearing shortage of workforce in this field. And we have put staffing ratios in place and fines against these institutions for not having the appropriate staffing. Now, when they're going to say we got to keep this staffing up, you can't require that employee to stay and do overtime until you can get the appropriate staff level there. So these institutions are going to be damned if they do or damned if they don't, because they're going to be fined on either side. This is not addressing the crisis that we have at hand with the workforce shortage we have in healthcare. We need other solutions to bolster our workforce so that we have the appropriate level of workforce, the appropriate number of workers to meet the staffing ratios, and to not be required to do mandatory overtime. But until we get there, just fining healthcare facilities is not going to advance the cause of improving healthcare in New York State. I vote in the negative.
Senator O'Mara to be recorded in the negative. Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 393, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Felder, Gallivan, Griffo, Matera, Oberacker, and O'Mara. Ayes 55, nays 8.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 424, Assembly number 2263 by Assemblymember Fernandez, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 424, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Senator Borrello, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Palumbo, Rath, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 48, nays 15.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 461, Senate Print 3081B by Senator Salazar, an act to amend the general business law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 472, Senate Print 7854A by Senator Kennedy, an act to amend the racing, parimutuel wagering, and breeding law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 60th day of it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 485, Senate Print 7864B by Senator Brooks, an act to amend the general municipal law and the public authorities law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 493, Senate Print 2841A by Senator Sepulveda, an act to amend the correction law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 120th day and it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar number 493, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Martucci, Oberecker, O'Mara, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 48, nays 15.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 535, Senate Print 977A by Senator Gorin, enactment of the Public Authorities Law and the Not-for-Profit Corporation Law.
The bill is laid aside for the day.
Calendar number 550, Assembly number 9344A by Assemblymember Steck, enactment of the Mental Hygiene Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 575, Senate Print 5333A by Senator Steck, concurrent resolution of the Senate and Assembly proposing an amendment to Section 1 of Article 14 of the Constitution.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 623, Senate Print 7582B by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 684, Assembly number 2150A by Assemblymember Rosenthal, an act in relation to establishing Brendan's Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect 24 months after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 703, Senate Print 5472A by Senator Hoyerman, enactment of the Real Property Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day and it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 703, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Helming, Lanza, Matera, O'Mara, Rath, Steck, and Tedisco. Senator Helming in the affirmative. Ayes 56, nays 7.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 765, Assembly number 8869B by Assemblymember Eichenstein, enactment of the insurance law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 809, Senate Print 6211 by Senator Reichman Melnick, enactment of the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White. In relation to calendar number 809, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Gorin, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Kaplan, Martucci, Matera, Oberecker, O'Mara, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 44, nays 19.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 828, Senate Print 7578C by Senator Mannion, enactment of the state finance law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 845, Assembly number 9622C by Assemblymember Salage, enactment of the New York State Urban Development Corporation Act.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 871, Senate Print 7862B by Senator Bailey, an act to amend the state finance law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect April 1st, 2023.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White. Yep.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 871, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Griffo, Jordan, Oberacker, Rath, and Tedisco. Ayes 57, nays 6.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 873, Assembly number, 9278 by Assemblymember Bronson, an act to amend the Economic Development Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 881, Senate Print 5891F by Senator Parker, an act to amend the Education Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 881, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Gallivan, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Oberacker, O'Mara, Palumbo, Rath, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 52, nays 11.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 907, Senate Print 3959B by Senator Kennedy, an act to amend the Public Authorities Law.
Read the last section.
Section 9, this act shall take effect on the 90th day it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 915, Assembly number 9081 by Assemblymember Jean Pierre, an act to amend the Highway Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 915, voted in the negative, Senator Brisport, ayes 62, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 936, Senate Print 4778B by Senator White, an act in relation to authorizing the assessor of the town of Brookhaven to accept an application for exemption from real property taxes.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 936, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar and O'Mara, ayes 61, nays 2.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 941, Senate Print 7906A by Senator Kaminsky, an act authorizing Chabad of Oceanside Incorporated to receive retroactive real property tax exemption status.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 941, voted in the negative, Senator Akshar and O'Mara, ayes 61, nays 2.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 985, Senate Print 2532B by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the Public Health Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White. In relation to calendar 985, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Serino, Steck, Tedisco, also Senator Skoufis, ayes 45, nays 18.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 990, Senate Print 158A by Senator Kaplan, an act to amend the Economic Development Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce results.
In relation to calendar 990, voted in the negative, Senator Skoufis, ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 991, Senate Print 309B by Senator Myrie, an act to amend the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Senator Jackson. Please vote.
Thank you, Madam President. My colleagues, I rise to speak in support of Senator Gennadis's legislation. Oh, boy. Madam President, is this the wrong piece of legislation? Okay.
Senator Myrie's bill.
Yeah, I know.
S309B.
I'm sorry. But I'm in favor of this legislation because of the fact that it basically improves the integrity of the voting machines in the system. And I was looking for my notes, but I can't find it. So I support this bill wholeheartedly, Madam President.
Senator Jackson to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the result.
In relation to calendar number 991, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Brooks, Felder, Gallivan, Gorin, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Kaplan, Lanza, Martucci, Oberacker, O'Mara, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Serino, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 42, nays 21.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1000, Senate Print 3126C by Senator Parker, an act to amend the Public Service Law and the Public Authorities Law.
The bill is laid aside for the day.
Calendar number 1006, Senate Print 4885A by Senator Savino, an act to amend the Labor Law and the Education Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the 90th day of it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1006, voted in the negative are Senators Akshar and Oberacker. Ayes 61, nays 2.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1015, Senate Print 8531A by Senator Gorin, an act in relation to establishing the Wyandanch Health and Wellness Center Design Build Act.
Read the last section.
Section 12, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1015, voted in the negative, Senator Steck. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1039, Senate Print 4371D by Senator Biaggi, an act to amend the Environmental Conservation Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day of it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Senator Biaggi to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today in support of this bill and am going to start with gratitude to the Majority Leader as well as to my colleagues in the Senate who support this bill. This is an important bill because it enacts new standards for toxic air pollutants. The COVID-19 pandemic, as we all know, because we talk about it almost every day, has truly devastated so many communities across New York. But for families in my district, in the South Bronx specifically, COVID has added on to their existing health crisis of environmental racism. Decades of companies unleashing toxic air contaminants in the Bronx, predominantly Black and brown communities, has also led to high rates of respiratory disease and other illnesses. The climate crisis has not, and it will not, affect us all equally, and we all know that. And that means that we have to address our environmental policy failures that have led to these racial inequities. This legislation we're passing today will require the Department of Environmental Conservation to establish air quality standards for 7 toxic pollutants that are not currently regulated. These pollutants have been shown to cause a variety of serious human health effects, including cancer. I'm proud to vote aye. I encourage all of my colleagues to vote aye because, frankly, it's indisputable that we should all be against toxic pollutants in the environment that actually cause harm to human beings, the environment, and to all living beings on Earth. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Senator Biaggi to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1039, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Oberacker, O'Mara, Rath, Ritchie, Serino, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 49, nays 14.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1054, Senate Print 3873 by Senator Kennedy, an act to amend the Vehicle and Traffic Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the 180th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1085, Assembly number 8617 by Assemblymember Meeks, an act to amend the insurance law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1085, voted in the negative, Senator Jordan. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1090, Senate Print 9006 by Senator Breslin, an act to amend the insurance law.
Read the last section.
Section 15, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1090, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Oberacker, Ritchie, Sereno, and Tedisco. Ayes 55, nays 8.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1120, Senate Print 8398B by Senator Liu, an act to amend the tax law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1139, Senate Print 3259 by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the administrative code of the City of New York.
There's a home rule message at the desk. Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1151, Senate Print 8037 by Senator Reichlin Melnick, an act to amend the state finance law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1151, voted in the negative, Senator Martucci. Ayes 62, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1152, Senate Print 8061 by Senator Reichlin Melnick, an act to amend the state finance law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1152, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Felder, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 46, nays 17.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1163, Senate Print 8253 by Senator Kennedy, an act to amend the local finance law.
There's a home rule message at the desk. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1176, Senate Print 2110A by Senator Sepulveda, an act to amend the Surrogate Court Procedure Act.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1187, Senate Print 5137A by Senator Matera, an act to amend the Public Authorities Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1195, Senate Print 9011A by Senator Ryan, an act to amend Chapter 560 of the laws of 1998.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect on the 180th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1195, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helmy, Jordan, May, O'Mara, Ritchie, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 51, nays 12.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1216, Senate Print 5994C by Senator Ryan, an act to amend the labor law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Ryan to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill ensures that contractors working on public works projects are following state labor laws. It will expose and prevent bad actors from profiting off taxpayers and taking advantage of their workers. It will require the Department of Labor to set up a dashboard, much like the dashboard we saw during COVID, where you can go on and take a complete look at what's happening. So if a contractor has been awarded a bid by a town, by an agency, by a county, and you're curious about who got that bid, the information's all up there. Address, whether they're up to date with their workers' compensation policies, whether they've had claims filed against them. Right now, there is different parts of this information available at different places at the Department of Labor, but boy, is it hard for a citizen or a town to get all this information. This will require the Department of Labor to put it all together in one nice package, and that should help the citizens of New York benefit from getting better contractors and having full transparency on how we spend our millions and millions and millions of state dollars going to construction projects. So this is one more step in the right direction of upholding our state's transparency rules, and I proudly support this and vote in favor and withdraw my request for an explanation. Thank you.
Senator Ryan to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1216, voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Griffo, Helmy, Jordan, O'Mara, Rath, Sereno, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 53, nays 10.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1218, Senate Print 6446B by Senator Reichlin Melnick, an act to amend the mental hygiene law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1225, Assembly number 9298A by Assemblymember McDonald, an act to authorize and direct the Commissioner of Health to establish a portable diagnostics program.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator May to explain her vote.
Thank you, President. Imagine you have an older relative who falls in the home and is injured. What would normally happen is you might call 911 or put that person in a car and take them to the emergency room or to urgent care where you'd wait hours and hours for an x-ray. Each of these steps has risks, risks of further injury, risks of exposure to communicable diseases or disorientation. All kinds of things can happen. It can also be expensive and take up hospital personnel time when they have a lot of other things on their minds. So now imagine a system where you can bring the x-ray or the ultrasound or the EKG into someone's home and do the diagnostics there for them. This bill will increase access to portable diagnostics, which will save money, it will reduce costly visits to ERs and urgent care, and it will reduce even more costly hospital stays while saving the Medicaid budget money as well. So I am very proud to carry this bill, grateful to my colleagues for supporting it, and I vote aye.
Senator May to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1238, Senate Print 4870B by Senator Breslin, an act to amend the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect 1 year after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1238, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Gallivan, Helming, and O'Mara. Ayes 59, nays 4.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1243, Senate Print 7020B by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 13, this act shall take effect on the 180th day, and it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1251, Senate Print 8994A by Senator Stavisky, an act to amend the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect July 1st, 2023.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1251, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Palumbo, Rath, Sereno, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 47, nays 16.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1281, Senate Print 8927 by Senator Brooks, an act to amend the highway law.
The bill is laid aside for the day.
Calendar number 1289, Senate Print 8389C by Senator Thomas, an act to amend the labor law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1294, Senate Print 7173 by Senator Bailey, an act to amend the Family Court Act.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect on the 90th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1294, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Oberacker, O'Mara, Palumbo, Rath, Sereno, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 47, nays 16.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1297, Senate Print 8044 by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the social services law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1302, Senate Print 4960 by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the public service law.
Read the last section.
Section 8, this act shall take effect on the 90th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1302, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Sereno, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Also, Senator Matera. Ayes 45, nays 18.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1312, Senate Print 118 by Senator Kaplan, an act to amend the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 60th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Kaplan to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. We've worked hard here in New York to advance voting rights and to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to have their voices heard at the ballot box. But unfortunately, there are always bad actors diligently working to find new ways to suppress the vote and undermine our efforts. Technology has opened up a whole new world of sophisticated voter suppression tools. And we need to stay a step ahead of the bad guys if we're going to protect our democracy from these new forms of attack. I'm proud to sponsor this legislation to criminalize high-tech election interference. And I'm grateful for the leadership of our Majority Leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, for prioritizing the passage of this important package of legislation that will strengthen our rights to vote and protect our democracy. I vote aye.
Senator Kaplan to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1315, Senate Print 1032 by Senator Stewart-Cousins, an act to amend the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1378, Senate Print 8816A by Senator Adabo, an act to amend the environmental conservation law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1423, Assembly number 7748A by Assemblymember Thiel, an act to amend the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 120th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1441, Senate Print 8202 by Senator Myrie, an act to amend the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 8, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce results.
In relation to calendar 1441, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Boyle, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Sereno, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 46, nays 17.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1460, Senate Print 8861 by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the social services law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1465, Assembly number 10190, Assembly Committee on Rules, an act to amend the General Municipal Law and the Retirement and Social Security Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect July 1st, 2022.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1481, Senate Print 9340 by Senator Biaggi, an act to amend the Vehicle and Traffic Law.
There's a home rule message at the desk. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce results.
In relation to calendar 1481, voted in the negative, Senator Lanza, ayes 62, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1482, Senate Print 9341 by Senator Hoyerman, an act to amend the judiciary law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce results.
In relation to calendar 1482, voted in the negative, Senator Skoufis, ayes 62, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1515, Senate Print 8744C by Senator White, an act in relation to authorizing Ecclesia Long Island Center Ministries to file with the town of Brookhaven assessor an application for certain real property tax exemptions.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1522, Senate Print 1003C by Senator Gorin, an act to amend the General Municipal Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1522, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Also, Senator Serino, ayes 48, nays 15.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1523, Senate Print 1480 by Senator Kruger, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 1st of January.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1523, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Felder, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 49, nays 14.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1529, Senate Print 4707 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the Agriculture and Markets Law.
Read the last section.
Section 9, this act shall take effect on the 90th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1530, Senate Print 4860A by Senator Kennedy, an act to authorize the widow of William James Middlebrooks to file a retirement option election form.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1533, Senate Print 5602B by Senator Granardez, an act to amend the Vehicle and Traffic Law.
The bill is laid aside.
Calendar number 1534, Assembly number 7016B by Assembly Member Bichot Hermelin, an act to amend the Public Authorities Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3 is act to take effect on the 120th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1535, Assembly number 7357A by Assembly Member Abenati, an act to amend the Mental Hygiene Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act to take effect on the 90th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1540, Assembly number 9659 by Assembly Member Fahey, an act to amend the Banking Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act to take effect January 1st, 2023.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1540, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Serino, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 48, nays 15.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1542, Senate Print 7292 by Senator Biaggi, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Biaggi to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. If you may, just read the bill number one more time. I apologize.
A bill S 7292, calendar
Wonderful.
1542.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I rise today in support of my legislation, which will clarify the standard for retaliation and also age discrimination, disparate treatment cases brought under New York State human rights law. Why does this matter and why do we need this bill? Because the bill will make it easier for victims of retaliation and age discrimination to receive protection under the New York State human rights law. Recent federal court decisions that we have reviewed have required claims for age discrimination and all claims for retaliation be established if but for the discrimination, the challenged action would not have taken place. In other words, the complainant must establish that the act of discrimination they experienced would not have taken place but for their age, for example. Because judges have decided to interpret the New York State human rights law in line with federal statute, something we also actually saw in 2019 when we changed the severe or pervasive standard and lowered it to a reasonableness standard. Because this is happening in our courts, this onerous standard has also been applied to age discrimination and retaliation claims brought under state law. What this bill will do is apply a motivating factor standard to all disparate treatment cases brought under New York State human rights law, applying the lower and more attainable standard across the board. And so under this standard, the complainant needs to establish that their age was simply a motivating factor in the discrimination they experienced. Unfortunately, age discrimination and retaliation remain widespread issues in our workplace, despite all of the actions that we have taken as a body to update our laws and make them as worker-friendly as possible. So updating this standard will actually make it easier for New Yorkers to protect their rights under our law, which is something I think we always ought to vote in favor of. And so I am proud to vote aye. Thank you.
Senator Biaggi to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1542, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Sereno, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 52, nays 11.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1543, Assembly number 9906 by Assemblymember Fahy, enactment of the highway law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1543, voted in the negative, Senator Brisport, ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1544, Senate Print 7318 by Senator Ort, enactment Chapter 363 of the laws of 1982.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1544, voted in the negative, Senator Helming, ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1546, Assembly number 9067A by Assemblymember Barrett, enactment of the highway law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this action will take effect on the 60th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1546, voted in the negative, Senator Brisport, ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1547, Senate Print 7867A by Senator Biaggi, enactment of the public health law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1548, Assembly number 8537 by Assemblymember Pfeffer Amato, enact to amend the insurance law and the public health law.
Read the last section.
Section 6, this action will take effect on the 90th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1551, Assembly number 8534 by Assemblymember Jensen, enactment of the highway law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1552, Assembly number 8600 by Assemblymember Ra, enacting in relation to authorizing the West Hempstead Holiness Church of God to file with the County of Nassau Assessor an application for a retroactive property tax exemption.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1552, voted in the negative are Senators Akshar and O'Mara. Ayes 61, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1553, Senate Print 8085C by Senator Helming, enactment of the highway law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Janoris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results. Senator Helming to explain her vote.
President, Mr. Calabrese was a beloved local veteran who passed away last December at 92 years young. He was a man worthy of this recognition who lived a full and grateful life of service. Mr. Calabrese was truly an American hero, a fierce advocate for his fellow veterans. In his honor, a stretch of State Route 21 in the city and town of Canandaigua and the town of Hopewell will now be known as the Ralph Calabrese Highway. I'm very grateful to this body today as we collectively honor Mr. Calabrese and his legacy by passing this bill. When I took office, Mr. Calabrese was one of the first people to come and visit me. He brought with him a poem he wrote titled A Veteran's Prayer. That poem hangs in my office today. The final line reads, "Please, dear God, don't let America turn its back on me." Mr. Calabrese was a U.S. Army veteran of the Korean War. He was fiercely devoted to his fellow veterans and passionate about his community of Canandaigua. Many years ago, there was an effort to close the Canandaigua VA Medical Center. And it was Mr. Calabrese who launched an extensive grassroots campaign, organizing community rallies, collecting thousands and thousands upon letters of support, speaking at hearings, traveling to Washington, D.C., and battling to keep the VA open. And under his leadership, that did happen. The Canandaigua VA is open. And when Mr. Calabrese passed away last December, it was peacefully, and it was at this very facility that he worked so hard to save. In 2012, Mr. Calabrese was inducted into the New York State Senate Veterans Hall of Fame for his service during the Korean War. In fact, when I saw him out in the community, he was most often seen proudly wearing his Korean veteran hat. For his service, he also earned a Bronze Service Star, the Korean Service Medal, the Combat Infantry Badge, and the Ambassador for Peace Medal. Mr. Calabrese was selfless and generous. He truly led with conviction. He fought for everything that he believed in, and he loved America. In a letter that I received from Mr. Calabrese's son, Dominic, he wrote what a good and great man his father was, especially where the veterans were concerned. He would be so proud that we feel such respect for Mr. Calabrese. This is an honor that will keep his legacy alive in everyone that passes through that corridor of State Route 21. Madam President, I'm better for having known Mr. Calabrese, and I'm eternally grateful for his friendship, advice, and support. I hope that all of us can find some inspiration in Mr. Calabrese's life of service. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Helming to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1553, voted in the negative, Senator Brisport. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1559, Senate Print 8344A by Senator Mannion, enact to amend Chapter 996 of the laws of 1965.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1564, Senate Print 8581A by Senator Griffo, enact to amend the highway law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1564, voted in the negative, Senator Brisport. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1565, Assembly number 9738 by Assemblymember Abadi, enact to amend the retirement and Social Security law.
There's a home rule message at the desk. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1567, Senate Print 8594 by Senator Parker, an act to authorize the widow of Peter Sistrom to file a retirement option election form on behalf of her deceased husband.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1569, Assembly number 9632 by Assemblymember Thiel, an act in relation to the designation of Southampton Village Ocean Rescue as an emergency rescue and first aid squad.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1570, Assembly number 9664 by Assemblymember Werner, an act to amend the Social Services Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1571, Senate Print 8683A by Senator Henchy, an act to amend the Village Law and the Public Officers Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1571, voted in the negative, Senator May. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1572, Senate Print 8726A by Senator Ritchie, an act to amend the Highway Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1572, voted in the negative, Senator Brisport. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1575, Senate Print 8790 by Senator Tedisco, an act to amend the Public Officers Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1575, voted in the negative, Senator May. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1576, Senate Print 8818 by Senator Breslin, an act in relation to permitting the Oakwood Community Center to file an application for a real property tax exemption.
There's a home rule message at the desk. Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1576, voted in the negative, Senator O'Mara. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1579, Senate Print 8872 by Senator White, an act in relation to authorize the town of Brookhaven, County of Suffolk, assessor to accept an application for a real property tax exemption.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1579, voted in the negative, Senator O'Mara. Ayes 62, nays 1.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1580, Senate Print 8931 by Senator Gorin, concurrent resolution of the Senate and Assembly proposing an amendment to Section 5 of Article 8 of the Constitution.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1581, Senate Print 8986 by Senator Mayer, an act to amend a chapter of the laws of 2021.
There's a home rule message at the desk. Read the last section.
Section 3, this act will take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2021.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1582, Assembly number 9962 by Assemblymember Pretlow, an act to amend the racing parimutuel wagering and breeding law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect September 1st, 2022.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1582, voted in the negative, Senator Skoufis. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1583, Assembly number 10066 by Assemblymember Bronson, an act to amend the alcoholic beverage control law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1588, Senate Print 9053 by Senator Kaminsky, an act to amend the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger,
No.
Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1588, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Obelrecker and Sereno. Ayes 61, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1589, Senate Print 9054 by Senator Kaminsky, an act to amend the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 60. Oops. Sorry, 1 second. In relation to calendar 1589, voted in negative are Senators Obelrecker and Sereno. Ayes 61, nays 2. Calendar number 1590, Senate Print 9068B by Senator Jackson, an act authorizing the City of New York to discontinue the use as parklands of a portion of real property in the County of New York.
There's a home rule message at the desk. Read the last section.
Section 7, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1590, voted in the negative, Senator Skoufis. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1591, Assembly number 10198A, Assembly Committee on Rules, an act to amend the alcoholic beverage control law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed. Calendar 1595 was amended earlier today. The bill is now high and will be laid aside for the day.
Calendar number 1596, Senate Print 9146 by Senator White, an act to amend Chapter 397 of the laws of 1996.
There's a home rule message at the desk. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1597, Senate Print 9316A by Senator Stewart Cousins, an act to amend the village law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1599, Senate Print 9328 by Senator Thomas, an act to amend the tax law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1600, Assembly number 10147, the Assembly Committee on Rules, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
No, you don't have. You think so? Senator Ramos to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to thank our Majority Leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and our entire conference in making this big change in the way we talk about undocumented New Yorkers within the law. We're actually shifting a lot of the nomenclature that we use here in New York to describe non-citizens and undocumented non-citizens within the law, because ultimately, well, no human being is illegal, and even though the actions they may have taken are illegal, human beings are not, and that really is antithetical to the American spirit. Every single person that stands here, has ancestors that came here by choice or by force. And unfortunately, I think American history has long tried to cast labels on people to promote otherism, whether it was seeing Black people as 3/5 of a person, hundreds of, I guess over 100 years ago, 200 years ago, or today when many people still describe undocumented New Yorkers as illegal aliens. They are not from a different planet. They are not illegal on their own planet. And quite frankly, they are New Yorkers just like us who need to work and feed their families and contribute to our economy, to our districts, to our great state. And so I'm very proud that we are making these changes to New York state law so that every New Yorker feels welcome, no matter where they come from or how they get here. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Ramos to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1600, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rath, Ritchie, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 50, nays 13.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1601, Senate Print 9336 by Senator Bailey, an act to establish a juvenile justice education task force.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1601, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Griffo, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rath, Ritchie, Steck, and White. Ayes 54, nays 9.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1602, Senate Print 9348 by Senator Sanders, an act in relation to directing the superintendent of financial services to study overdraft fees.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1602, voted in the negative, Senator Ort and Senator O'Mara. Ayes 61, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1603, Senate Print 9350 by Senator Jordan, an act to amend the criminal procedure law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1604, Senate Print 9357 by Senator Gorin, an act to amend the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1604, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Oberacker and Serino. Ayes 61, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1605, Senate Print 9358 by Senator Gorin, an act to amend the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1605, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Oberacker and Serino. Ayes 61, nays 2.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1606, Assembly number 7487 by Assemblymember Fall, an act to amend the general business law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect 180 days after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1607, Senate Print 9360 by Senator Thomas, an act to amend the abandoned property law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1608, Senate Print 9371 by Senator Ryan, an act to amend the alcoholic beverage control law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1609, Senate Print 9372 by Senator Gurnardez, an act to amend the real property tax law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1610, Assembly number 10150, Assembly Committee on Rules, an act to amend Chapter 890 of the laws of 1982.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1612, Senate Print 9383 by Senator Kavanaugh, an act to amend the alcoholic beverage control law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1613, Senate Print 9385 by Senator Kavanaugh, an act to amend the alcoholic beverage control law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1614, Assembly number 10121 by Assemblymember Levine, an act to amend Chapter 401 of the laws of 2002.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1615, Senate Print 9398 by Senator Cooney, an act to amend Chapter 538 of the laws of 2013.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1616, Senate Print 9399 by Senator Sepulveda, an act to amend the real property tax law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
God bless you. Announce results.
In relation to calendar 1616, voted in the negative, Senator White. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1617, Senate Print 9400 by Senator Mannion, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1618, Senate Print 9405 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the energy law.
Read the last section.
Section 25, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce results.
In relation to calendar 1618, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Boyle, Gallivan, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Steck, Tedesco, and White. Ayes 44, nays 19.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Can we now take up the supplemental calendar?
There's a substitution at the desk. The Secretary will read.
Senator Hoylman moves to discharge from the Committee on Women's Issues. Assembly Bill Number 5499 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 470, third reading calendar 1620. Just a sub.
The bill is laid aside.
Substitution so ordered. Secretary will read.
Calendar number 1620, Assembly number 5499 by Assemblymember Glick, an act authorizing the Commissioner of Health to conduct a study and issue a report examining the unmet health and resource needs facing pregnant women in New York.
Laid aside.
Calendar number 1621, Senate Print 1046E by Senator Myrie, an act to amend the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Mayer to explain her vote.
Madam President, I am proud to be voting in the affirmative on this very important bill that really makes clear that New York State is committed to the practices of a just election, no matter where it occurs. And I particularly wanted to rise because I know some members of the education community that I have a wonderful working relationship with have concerns, and some have expressed opposition to this bill because it applies to school board, school district, and library elections. And let me say that those of us who care about the education community, which I suspect is every one of my colleagues, knows that we have work to do to ensure that as many people as possible vote in our school board elections, participate in our school budget elections, have a voice in how their school district operates. And this bill begins the process of ensuring that we have equity and access in the process of determining the policy at the local level for each of our schools. Nothing could be more essential to the American democratic process than ensuring that school board and school budget elections are conducted equitably with access and that acts of discrimination are dealt with appropriately. So I want to assure my friends in the education community, while there may be complications because there are elements of the education law and the election law that come into play in this bill, we are more than willing to continue to work on the operational challenges that may appear as the bill is not effective for some period of time. But let us not walk away from our challenges and responsibilities as members of this legislature to ensure that equity, access, and fair play is the rule of the day for school boards, school budgets, and libraries, the same as it is for voting in a general election. Thank you, Madam President. I will be voting in the affirmative.
Senator Mayer to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator May to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. At a time when our democracy is under threat in state after state after state, I am very proud to rise in favor of this bill and to thank Senator Myrie for his hard work in crafting an excellent bill and our leadership for bringing it forward. New York is once again leading the way, as we should have been doing for years, and it is in no small part due to our chair of elections and the leadership of this body. So that's all I have to say. I vote aye, very proudly and very enthusiastically.
Senator May to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Myrie to explain his vote. Senator Kaplan to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. We've come a long way towards securing voting rights for New Yorkers in the last few years. But generations of institutional racism and corruption continue to haunt our communities and rob millions of New Yorkers of their constitutional right to representation. Long Island is afflicted with just about every form of structural disenfranchisement that you can imagine, with some of the worst racist and partisan gerrymandering in the state, and countless instances of racism, animus in campaigns, the likes of which should give us all pause for reflection and cause for action. The problem for many years has been that remedy for these scourges has been out of the reach of the disenfranchised communities and residents themselves, leaving marginalized communities without options to fix a broken system and stand up for their rights. Until now. The John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act of New York will change all that and finally fulfill for New Yorkers the original promises of the Federal Voting Rights Act. while adding new protections to ensure that all eligible voters have the ability to participate in the political process. It is why I've been proud to fight for its passage and why I'm proud to be a co-sponsor. I want to give a big shout out to the bill sponsor, Senator Zelnor Myrie, for introducing this vital legislation and partnering with me earlier this year on a webinar to encourage my constituents on this important topic. And I want to thank our leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, for bringing to the floor this important legislation for a vote today. I proudly vote aye.
Senator Kaplan to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Bailey to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. It is an amazing occasion to be able to speak on the floor in relation to anything named after John Lewis. He was a champion for people that were just more than African American, for more than just Democrats. He was a champion for justice, a drum major for justice, one would say. And one of his central points of his career was making sure that at the ballot box, there were no prejudices. I'm extremely elated to be able to speak on the passage of such an important bill at a time when it seems like our voting rights are under attack at a nationwide level. My good friend, my brother, Senator Zelnor Myrie, has worked dutifully, along with Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and our entire conference to make sure that, not in New York, that in New York, your vote will be counted, that in New York, your vote is respected, that in New York, your vote counts. And so I am excited about this opportunity and what it means, not just for the election process, but for future generations of people, young women and men, who are going to cast their votes. Madam President, I think about my oldest daughter, who is a class rep in her second grade class. And I think about how she was voted in. And I think about how when we count votes in second grade in the elementary school elections, there is no problem with that. But when we have vote counts in certain disenfranchised areas, certain people get the short end of the stick. If we can vote like we vote in Giada's second grade class, we'd be in a better place. And this bill takes us a long way towards doing that. So once again, salute to Senator Myrie, our great leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins. I proudly vote in the affirmative.
Senator Bailey to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Myrie to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. Hundreds of men and women angry in a mob, armed, incited by elected officials, lying to them, telling them that they were losing their country, that the media was lying to them, and that they had to take matters into their own hands. They attacked the center of government, and they held elected officials hostage, said resign or else. And while this sounds like January 6th of 2021, I'm talking about Wilmington, North Carolina in 1898. The attacks on our democracy are not new. In fact, they are woven into the fabric of this country. But the historically oppressed have been the ones to perfect our democracy. Even under suppression, they have called this country to its higher ideals. They have fought, they have bled, they have died to preserve this democracy. John R. Lewis bled. He gave everything he had. because he believed that we were not the worst, but that we could be our best. This bill, the strongest Voting Rights Act in the nation, calls New York to its highest ideals. It says that no matter your race, no matter your color, and no matter what language you speak, you are entitled to the vote. It is sacred, it is precious, and we must fight for it. We have a duty to preserve it because it is under attack in large and small ways. I'm so excited for this bill because it's bipartisan. When the Federal Voting Rights Act passed in 1964, bipartisan. The renewal in 1982, bipartisan. The last authorization in 2005, signed by that radical leftist George W. Bush, passed in the United States Senate 98-0. Wasn't a partisan issue. This was about holding up democracy. So my hope is that today we do the same. This isn't about your party. This is about upholding what the country was founded on. So I urge all of my colleagues in the chamber today to stand up for your constituents. Stand up for the franchise. Fight back against the misinformation, against the deception, against the intimidation. Lift up our best ideals. Madam President, we also submitted additional supporting material to the Legislative Library. I just want to get that on the record to help support what we are doing today. But let me close by thanking our Majority Leader, not just on this bill, but on day one of every legislative session, ensuring that we prioritize the right that protects all other rights. I want to thank Chantel. I want to thank Marty Asher. I want to thank Chris Higgins, who's here somewhere. I want to thank Liz Robbins. I want to thank my staff, Jake, Godfrey, Tori, and all of the amazing organizations and civil rights organizations that help make this a reality. So, Madam President, I proudly vote aye, and I look forward to this passing in the Assembly and getting signed into law. Thank you.
Senator Myrie to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1621, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Boyle, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 43, nays 20.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1622, Senate Print 9039A by Senator Biaggi, an act to amend the Civil Rights Law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Biaggi to explain her vote.
Madam President, I rise today in support of this bill, which will require DCJS to establish a rape kit tracking system. Why do we need this bill? Why is this bill important? This bill is important because when survivors leave the hospital, they often don't hear about the status of their rape kit ever again. Ever again. Survivors who do seek out updates report facing additional trauma, victim blaming, and contempt, if we can even imagine, contempt Because how dare they ask about the status of their rape kit, ridiculous, when they follow up with law enforcement. So by establishing a rape kit tracking system, what we do here is restore agency to survivors and allow them to access information about the status of their rape kit when and if they so choose. Not only will this help survivors counter the loss of self-determination and control that so many people feel when they are sexually assaulted or sexual violence has been committed against them, but it also is a critical tool for accountability. Why? Because it helps to hold accountable systems that oftentimes either lose the rape kits or frankly don't care about them. And those systems are hospitals, law enforcement, and state labs accountable for timely processing. 33 states already implemented rape kit tracking systems, and so it is way past time for New York to do the same. I want to thank Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins for her support on this legislation, and I truly hope that in the year 2022, the Assembly can also get on board and make sure that we are putting the survivors of rape and survivors of sexual violence at the top of our priority lists, because we cannot let another year pass again. And if we do, I will make sure that the public knows. I am happy to vote aye. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Senator Biaggi to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Borrello to explain his vote.
Madam President, thank you. I'd like to echo everything that Senator Biaggi said, but remind her that this is not the bill that we're speaking on. And I want to make sure I bring that up because several Republican members voted against this bill. And I don't want to think that we voted against a bill requiring those rape kit disclosures. So just to be clear, it's my understanding that's not the bill we just voted on. And I want to make sure it's clear that myself and all of my colleagues did support that bill when it came up for vote. Thank you.
Reflect the record that you are correct. Thanks.
Also clarify, the bill Senator Biaggi was speaking about was already passed, and so we appreciate her comments in support of that legislation as well.
Just to clarify, we are on calendar 1622, S9039A, correct? Yes? Okay. Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1622, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Boyle, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Serino, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 43, nays 20.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1623, Senate Print 9077A by Senator Kruger. Enact to amend the criminal procedure law.
Read the last section.
Section 7. This act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1623, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Adabo, Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Martucci, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rath, Ritchie, Serino, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 47, nays 16.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 1624, Senate Print 9079B by Senator Kaplan, enact to amend the education law and the public health law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Senator Kaplan to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. With the fate of Roe hanging in the balance, red states across the country are salivating at the opportunity to restrict women's access to reproductive health care, with many declaring war on doctors who provide reproductive health care services. Here in New York, we are standing up for the rights of women to access this health care. And we are standing up for the rights of doctors to provide the services women really need, no matter what happens at the Supreme Court. My bill will protect doctors from frivolous actions against their credibility by shameless anti-choice laws in red states. And it will ensure that women subjected to draconian restrictions on their bodies can find safe haven in New York and access healthcare services here without endangering the medical professionals threatening them. I'm proud to be the sponsor of this legislation, along with my partner, Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal. And I'm grateful for the leadership of Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins in ensuring that reproductive rights in New York are protected no matter what. I proudly vote aye.
Senator Kaplan to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce results.
In relation to calendar 1624, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Adabo, Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rath, Ritchie, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 47, nays 16.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1625, Senate Print 9080B by Senator Hinchey, an act to amend the insurance law.
The bill is laid aside.
Calendar number 1626, Senate Print 9288 by Senator Serino, an act to amend Chapter 476 of the laws of 1957.
Read last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1627, Senate Print 9384A by Senator Clear, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect on the 90th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce results. Announce results.
In relation to calendar 1627, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Helming, Jordan, Ort, Ritchie, and Tedisco. Ayes 55, nays 8.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Can we now move to the controversial calendar, beginning with calendar number 1625?
The Secretary will ring the bell. The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 1625, Senate Print 9080B by Senator Hinchey, an act to amend the insurance law.
Senator Lanza, why do you rise?
Madam President, I believe there's an amendment at the desk. I waive the reading of the amendment and ask that you recognize Senator Boyle to be heard.
Thank you, Senator Lanza. Upon review of the amendment in accordance with Rule 6, Section 4B, I rule it non-germane and out of order at this time.
Accordingly, Madam President, I appeal the ruling of the chair and ask that you recognize Senator Boyle.
The appeal has been made and recognized. Senator Boyle may be heard.
Thank you, Madam President. The amendment is most certainly germane, and the reason is because this bill supports abortion rights. I'll read a quick summary of what the bill does. It amends the insurance law in relation to prohibiting medical malpractice insurance companies from taking any adverse action against reproductive health care provider who provides legal reproductive health care. My amendment simply looks at who's paying for it. It says it will prohibit state monies, funds, or resources from being used to provide, assist, or support an abortion service for an out-of-state resident. It says, notwithstanding any law, rule, or regulation to the contrary, no state monies, funds, or resources shall be used or allocated to provide, assist, or support an abortion service, medical service related to an abortion, or practical support to enable a person to obtain abortion care for an individual that is not a New York State resident. Practical care includes, and is not limited to, ground and air transportation, gas money, lodging, meals, child care, translation services, and doula support. Madam President, we all know that if the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade tomorrow, abortion would still be legal in New York State. The only question is, who is going to pay for out-of-state residents who may come here to receive an abortion? In New York State, for many, many years, we've had Medicaid funding of abortion for our indigent New York State residents. But we know that if Roe versus Wade is overturned, there are several states that are going to restrict it greatly or ban it outright. And a lot of women will be coming to New York State to receive abortion. It's their legal right to do it. Abortion providers in New York State have the legal right to provide those services, but who is going to pay for it? Governor Hochul recently said that she's creating a $35 million abortion support fund through taxpayer money from New York State. We're not exactly sure where that's going to go, but some of that money may be going to airfare, lodging, abortion services from a woman from Louisiana or Texas or one of those states that may restrict or ban abortion. I just say to my colleagues here, you do a poll in your district, I don't know, vast majority of New Yorkers are probably going to be pro-choice. But then ask them, do you want to use your taxpayer money for pay for abortions for women who travel to New York State if Roe versus Wade is overturned to receive those abortions? I guarantee you it's a lot the other way. 90% or more of New Yorkers do not want to use our taxpayer money. We're taxed high enough in many other ways to pay for the abortions from women coming to New York from out of state. And Madam Speaker, and Madam President, that's why this is germane.
Thank you, Senator Boyle. I want to remind the House, the vote is on the procedures of the House and the ruling of the chair. Those in favor of overruling the chair signify by saying aye.
Show of hands.
Madam President, we've agreed to waive the showing of hands and record each member of the minority in the affirmative.
Without objection, so ordered. Announce the results.
Ayes 20.
The ruling of the chair stands and the bill in chief is before the House. Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. The secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 5, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Sewell, Cousins, White. In relation to calendar 1625, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Addabbo, Akshar, Morello, Boyle, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 42, nays 21.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris.
Madam President, can we now proceed with calendar 1533 and take up the remaining controversial calendar in order from there?
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 1533, Senate Print 5602B by Senator Gurnardes, an act to amend the Vehicle and Traffic Law.
Senator Lanza, why do you rise?
Madam President, on the bill.
Senator Lanza on the bill.
Madam President, this bill represents an extension and expansion of the New York City speed camera legislation. Now, there's quite a bit of history with regard to this program. It started with Mayor Bloomberg, who pushed for it toward the end of his administration. It really gathered steam with Mayor de Blasio, and I know this is being pushed now by my good friend Mayor Adams. Madam President, I wish this legislation was about only safety. But years ago, when it was first initiated, my fear was that it was more about money, that it was more about taxing the people of New York City, taxing the people of Staten Island. And my fears have been, I believe, borne out by the actions of the City of New York with regard to this program. And I'll get into that. Initially, then DOT Commissioner Polly Trottenberg, a dedicated, intelligent, thoughtful member of the city administration, approached me to discuss what I might be open to in terms of implementing a speed camera bill. Because after all, in theory, it makes sense. If you speed, you should be fined. And we talked about how we might possibly come to some sort of an agreement with respect to what type of legislation and what the approach would be. We initially talked about identifying those intersections, those areas in New York City that were proven to be dangerous to motorists and pedestrians, and that in fact suffered a track record of danger, as reported by the police department in prior years. And roads that were dangerous because of geometry, intersections that were dangerous by design. And DOT Commissioner Trottenberg was open to that approach, and so was Mayor Bloomberg. And then, fast forward, Mayor de Blasio decided that we would not focus on those areas that were dangerous, that were proven to be dangerous, and where speed was a factor, because what they found out was that there weren't enough of those intersections and roadways in the city of New York. So they moved to the idea that we would have speed cameras around schools. The thought being, and again, on paper it makes sense, hey, schools are by definition areas of danger when it comes to speeding. After all, you have young students coming and going from school. So perhaps the approach, it might make sense, would be to focus on putting speed cameras around schools. I think it was Senator Klein at the time who introduced and passed that legislation, and it became law. The interesting part about that, Madam President, is that for years before that, I carried and continue to carry a bill that would require that a stop sign or traffic signal be installed at the four corners surrounding every school in the city of New York. And within those four corners would be created a school safety zone. And I won't go into the details about what that means, but there would be added fines, there would be more surveillance. But the idea for my legislation was to, in fact, make the area surrounding each and every single school in the city of New York safer for our students, our teachers, parents. The city of New York blocked that year in and year out, in spite of the fact, and I won't name names, but Democrats and Republicans in this House would tell me that they supported that idea. In fact, when I sat in the majority, we passed that legislation a number of years, and it died in the Assembly. And it died in the Assembly because I could tell you the city of New York lobbied with everything it had to stop it from happening. You might ask, well, if the idea is safety around schools, why not my approach? Why not a stop sign, a traffic signal surrounding every single school? And the reason, Madam President, quite frankly, I must tell you, is I've concluded, based on many conversations with many officials from the city of New York, is that that approach would not generate money for the city. In fact, that approach would not allow the city to take money from its citizens. I actually had a conversation with Mayor de Blasio on the subject, who was pushing me to support legislation, and I talked to him about that legislation. And he said he couldn't do it. I will tell you, I hope she doesn't get angry with me, because she is, I think, and has been a great public servant here in the city of New York from the other party, as relevant to where I sit. DOT Commissioner Polly Trottenberg, now over there in Washington, hopefully making a difference. I'm sure she is. She said she liked the approach and that it made sense to her. She was always thoughtful. She always approached things from the position of, how can I make a difference? She did. That was my experience with her for many years. She liked it. She worked with me to try to convince the mayor to do it. We went back and forth. Ultimately, she came to me and said, they won't do it. And so I subsequently had a conversation with Mayor de Blasio. And he gave me his reasons. Many of them did not make any sense to me. I'm sure my rationale did not make sense to him. But I asked him a very simple question. Mayor de Blasio, what do you think would slow down cars around the school more effectively? A stop sign, or a traffic light, or a speed camera? And I kid you not, he told me that he thought a speed camera would slow cars down more effectively. That is what he told me. Of course, I didn't accept that then. I don't accept it now. And I'll describe a couple of things that have happened in my district that I would think would prove to everyone that even the mayor did not believe that which he was saying on the subject. DOT Commissioner Polly Trottenberg didn't give up. She's a problem solver. She said, what is your continued opposition? And I said, you know, Commish, I just believe this is about money, and it's not about safety. There are a lot of things that we could do concerning road safety. All the evidence is in from the state DOT, the city DOT, the federal DOT. The greatest danger on our roads today, Madam President, is distracted driving. Texting while driving. The phone. That is the danger. There are a lot of things we can do. The city won't do it. When James Otto was the borough president, he called for a task force for the city to study safety in the city of New York with respect to traffic and the roads. And the Department of Transportation itself reported back with proposals about the things that could be done, specifically on Staten Island. I think they did one for every borough, which would improve safety on our roads. I think there were 15 main, really important, these will make a big difference projects that they proposed for Staten Island, and maybe about 30 other projects that they said, if we did these 45 projects, road safety improvements, intersection improvements, if we did those, we can really make a difference with respect to safety. Because that's, after all, what this bill is supposed to be about, according to the mayor and the city. These are the things we should do. They identified them. They spent a lot of money. They brought in experts and engineers, and they printed a report. I still have it. Madam President, of all the projects, and then beyond the 15 main projects, I think there were 30 sort of secondary projects, there were a host of other suggestions. Madam President, all these years later, do you know how many of those projects were actually completed on Staten Island during the 8 years that Mayor de Blasio was the mayor? Not a single one. The New York City Department of Transportation said, if you want to make Staten Island roads safer, this is what you have to do. The mayor, who said he cared about safety, and I'm sure at some level he did, said, no, I'm not going to do a single one of those things on Staten Island. So, Madam President, you can imagine when you start to see these things happen, a person like me, starts to wonder what the real motive is. What is really happening? Why are they doing this? Why are they pushing this? So Commissioner Trottenberg said, let me allay your fears. Let me prove to you that this is not about money and it is about safety. Talk to me about what you think is going to happen. And I said, well, you know, Commissioner, I'll give you some examples, because she asked for some. She said, tell me where you think the placement of cameras would prove to you to reflect that the real motive is a money grab and not safety. And I identified a few areas on Staten Island. I said, well, for instance, Commissioner, on Highland Boulevard, south of Richmond Avenue, and again, this doesn't make sense to anyone here, but to me it makes a lot of sense, and to my constituents it makes tons of sense. I said, you know, this is a road that anywhere else in the state would be described as a country road. It's sparsely developed. It's very large for city standards, not being a highway. It's 2 lanes in each direction, very large, wide lanes, and then there's a bit of a shoulder on each side. And it is in an area, as I said, one of the most sparsely populated areas in New York City. There are many parks through which it traverses. There is not, by city standards, a lot of traffic. It had a very, very safe track record in terms of accidents. Spoke to the police department back then. They couldn't come up with any instances where speed was a factor in an accident, which I found hard to believe. There had to be some, probably slipped through the crack. But at the very least, there were very few. The residents that are established along the way, they're required to have sidewalks by the city. If they don't, they're fined. Frustratingly, there's lots of parkland owned by the city, owned by the people, but under the jurisdiction of parks, there are no sidewalks there, if you care about safety. State DEC has land along that same road, no sidewalks, if you care about safety. The state has other land, no sidewalks, Madam President. The only people that are required to put sidewalks at their cost are people who own the houses and pay the taxes. The rules don't apply to the city. The rules don't apply to the state. And yet they talk about safety, and they won't put sidewalks in on this road. Well, true to form, being a dedicated, and I'll say again, intelligent public servant, Commissioner Trottenberg went out to that area. She sent people out there. She came back. Madam President, you know what she said? You're right. This is not a place we would put speed cameras. I said, well, you know, Commish, if I thought you were going to be commissioner for life, you and I would find a way to get this done. She also asked a very, I thought, insightful and thoughtful question of me. She said, you know, with your stop sign or traffic signal around the 4 corners of every school, do you have any schools that you think cry out for that? Maybe I can make that happen without the legislation. Again, I thought, this is the way government ought to work. I gave her 4 or 5 schools. On 3 of them, she said, listen, I spoke to the folks, you know, because there is that deep state that exists there. She was trying. And she said, you know, on these 3 schools, it's the fire department and the police department that do not want stop signs there. I said, why not? She says, well, there are certain roads they need to be able to fly down in case of an emergency. I said, well, that makes sense at some level. I said, I told the commissioner, but these schools aren't in areas like that. They're not main thoroughfares. Kind of doesn't make sense, but I'll accept it from you, that is what's being told to you. You know, Madam President, you know, I subscribe to the old check but do your homework, check but verify. And I called the police department. And after a long period of time, they got back to me and said, no, we don't have any hold there. We don't have any problems with putting stop signs or traffic lights there. Check with the fire department. They said, we don't know what you're talking about, Senator. There's no hold there. There's no restriction there. I went back to the commissioner. I know the commissioner was not lying to me. I know it. I said, Commish, here's what I got. They say it's not true. The commissioner said, let me get to the bottom of it. And this went on and on and on and on. And I have no doubt that she was misled. Well, let's fast forward. So one of those schools that I said cried out for the stop signs with traffic signals was PS 32. I attended PS 32, Madam President, as a young boy, and they said they couldn't put a stop sign or a traffic light there. So what did Mayor de Blasio do? He put a speed camera there. Okay. Well, you know, 3 months ago, Madam President, we finally got them with community outrage and outpouring. They came, they must have forgot our conversation. They came and they installed stop signs at PS 32. And you know, an interesting thing happened in the dead of the night, right after they did that. The speed camera disappeared, and it wasn't by virtue of vandals. The city came to that location, and they removed the speed camera. And you know why, Madam President? Because I inquired. They said, well, since they put the stop signs, contrary to what Mayor de Blasio said, they weren't making enough money. The camera was no longer justified in terms of dollars and cents because there was now a stop sign there. And magically and remarkably, people were not only slowing down at PS 32 and continue to do so, they stopped at that intersection where hundreds and hundreds of kids are playing. Madam President, one of the other schools was slated to receive a speed camera. Well, finally, a four-way stop sign was installed. ICE 24. I also attended ICE 24. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. It's like sort of a common denominator here. Madam President, interestingly now, they've pulled back their plan and proposal to install that speed camera. Highland Boulevard, south of Richmond Avenue. I discussed what DOT Commissioner said about that being one of those areas where, yes, I agree, this is not the place we would put speed cameras. Public safety does not demand it. It's not warranted under these circumstances. Well, last year, Madam President, out of the blue, Commissioner Trottenberg is no longer there. They installed speed cameras along this stretch. Everyone that I spoke to the city acknowledged that this is not where you'd put it if safety was what you cared about. And they did it. And you might say, well, so what, Senator Lanza? If you speed there, then you ought to get a ticket. But you know, they took it one step further, Madam President. They, simultaneously with installing the speed cameras on this very, what would be described as a very suburban stretch of New York City, they lowered the speed limit from 40 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour. Madam President, lifelong Staten Islander, I could tell you, I could promise you, that 40 miles an hour, given the road, was not speeding, but it was a speed limit. So if you traveled 41 miles an hour under the law, you're speeding. But I can tell you in terms of the size of the road, the width of the road, everything that's happening around that, that wasn't speeding. And they knew that, Madam President. So they said, we're going to put speed cameras along this long stretch, which usually, especially after a certain time, has hardly any cars on it. We know this is the sort of road that might invite you to travel a reasonable speed, which for years the city believed to be 40 miles an hour. I can tell you many Staten Islanders thought that was unreasonable, but let's leave it there. And they lowered it to 30 miles an hour, Madam President. 30 miles an hour on this road is ridiculous. It really is. You're crawling. It's 2 wide lanes, each direction. There's barely any foot traffic. There's not a lot of car traffic. And why'd they do it? Because they know that this is the sort of road that at 11 o'clock at night, when there's nobody around, if you were in your car driving 30 miles an hour, you would realize how idiotic it would be. If you were driving 40 miles an hour, it would seem, relative to the road, that you were driving very slow. They know that. So it's become, I'm old enough to remember, Madam President, some of those movies that would satire the South, and they would have those speed traps. You know, Madam President, there'd be a road in the movie, and the speed limit would be 60 miles an hour. Then all of a sudden, you'd come to a certain arbitrary line, and it would drop down to 15 miles an hour. There'd be some sheriff with a big hat hiding behind a billboard, and he would dart out on the motorcycle and get you. Not because you were driving fast, but because you were driving above that speed limit. Well, that's what they did on Staten Island, Madam President. At a time, Madam President, when people are having a hard time affording to put food on their table because of the runaway inflation, not just in this state, but across the country. At a time when it costs $5 per gallon of gas, at a time when everything New Yorkers do, everything, is more expensive, New York City has one more good idea. Let's take some more money from you. Let's make New York City less livable. Let's make New York City less convenient. Now, I understand the other side of this argument is, well, speeding is dangerous, and if you speed, you should be fined. Well, I've just described only a few instances, Madam President, where clearly the city has proven that it's not about speed or safety. Because if you lowered the speed limit down to 5 miles an hour on every single road in New York City, it would probably be a little safer. It would probably be a little safer. But driving 6 miles an hour is not speeding by any true definition. Driving 30 miles an hour on this stretch of Highland Boulevard is not speeding. Those cameras combined with that reduced speed, 25% decrease, is nothing more than a speed trap. Madam President, I can go on because I've been working on this for a long time, and I've been watching what the city has done. Do you know, Madam President, that on a few locations on Staten Island, we had on stops? They removed those. Why did they remove them? Because they thought it'd be better to have a cash register at that intersection, a speed camera. They've actually gone backwards in terms of making some of the roads safe because they've decided that this would be a great place to put a speed camera and ring the register. I'm going to give one more little sort of reason why I know, and so do the people of Staten Island, by the way, know that this was not about safety. They wish New York City was serious about safety. They know it's not. So we have lots of small residential roads on Staten Island. So as all of us here in this chamber do, you get calls from your constituents about issues that are affecting their lives, whether it's stop signs or potholes or whatever, you name it. You all know it. And we get a lot of calls from small little streets where people say, hey, they're flying up our street. You know, the street is only 20 feet wide. We have streets like that still on Staten Island. And even going 35 miles an hour is fast on that street. And we've compiled a bunch of examples like that. Do you know, Madam President, the person standing here who believes that these speed cameras are nothing more than a money grab will concede that there are places where perhaps they're warranted. And I've spoke to the city about some of these smaller streets where people are going 35 miles an hour, where 35 miles an hour is going fast, where going 35 or 40 miles an hour actually is presenting a danger. And this went on for a couple of years, talking to various different people, including in the new administration. And ultimately, someone took me aside and said, listen, Senator, it's not going to happen. And here's why. They're not putting those cameras on those little streets because they can't make enough money. There aren't enough people driving down those little roads. Doesn't matter that some of the ones who are speeding and really presenting a danger, because on a very narrow road, doesn't give a pedestrian, doesn't give a child much chance. We're not putting them there because there are not enough cars to justify them, to justify the cost, and to fill our coffers with your money. That's what I was told, Madam President, by somebody who presently works for the city of New York, who is in the know. It's not worth it, money-wise. Madam President, I can go on and on in terms of what I've witnessed and what I've watched the city do with respect to the placement of these cameras and the reduction of the speeds commensurate with placing these cameras, to prove to me beyond a reasonable doubt that it's more about money, more about a tax than it is about safety. In fact, Madam President, the only time the New York City DOT seems to make an appearance on Staten Island is to install a camera. And our roads, from a lifelong Staten Islander, I could tell you, are in the worst shape than they have ever been in my lifetime. They are horrific. There are roads that are in such a complete state of disrepair that they are dangerous, that they represent a safety threat. And the DOT is nowhere to be found, Madam President. Nowhere to be found. So, Madam President, I understand that at some level speed cameras can be about safety, and I understand that's where the sponsor's coming from, and I know the city is pushing this. But my experience with how the city has gone about doing this proves that they don't give a darn about safety, and they only care about picking the pockets of New Yorkers. Madam President, when the time comes for a vote, I'll be voting in the negative.
Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. The Secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Senator Jackson to explain his vote.
Madam President, I've waited and listened to my colleague, Andrew Lanza, and I can understand some of the things that he mentioned, but let me just say this to all of you. Car speeding in New York kills New Yorkers, injures New Yorkers. I know that for a fact. And I rise in favor of supporting my colleagues' legislation S5602, which eliminates restrictions on the use of school zone speed cameras. New York City has been far too many injuries and deaths while students travel to school. The Washington Heights neighborhood in my district and nearly 36 other neighborhoods across the city of New York have been flagged as high crash areas due to the elevated numbers of vehicles incidents impacting pedestrians. 2 months ago, Madam President, a 12-year-old girl was critically struck by a car in Washington Heights as she tried to cross the street on 170th Street and Audubon Avenue. Thankfully, it appears the young girl survived this incident, but others haven't been so lucky. In locations where speed safety cameras were installed, the Department of Transportation reported a 60% drop in speeding infractions. This legislation expands on the proven success of speed photo monitoring in school zones. How do I know that? Because during the pandemic, I was running late for an appointment, and they caught me doing 36 miles per hour in the 25-mile-per-hour zone. And I had to pay a $50 fine. And you know one thing? I deserved it, and I paid it. But I tell you, I slow up wherever I go where there's a school. It's imperative that we keep in mind the safety of our children. And as you know, you've heard it, and all of us heard it, every 5 miles per hour speed lower, if in fact someone's hit, the injury is less than if you were doing 5, 10, 15 miles per hour above that. So allowing speed cameras to operate 24/7 will save lives and discourage repeat speeding behavior. And I want to thank groups like Families for Safe Streets and Transportation Alternatives for their advocacy, most of whom are survivors of loved ones and traffic violence themselves. There was a press conference when Andrew Gennardis and Brad Holman came up to Washington Heights and spoke about this. Not recently, that must have been over a year ago, but it's still very important today. And so my colleagues, I urge you to please vote aye on this. If you do, you will save lives and stop people from being injured with speeding cars throughout all of New York City. And Staten Island is a borough of New York City. All of it matters, and it matters to every one of us. And I ask you to vote aye on his bill.
Senator Jackson to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Hoylman to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to support this bill and to commend the bill's sponsor, Senator Gennardis, and my colleague, Senator Jackson, for their efforts in expanding the city's speed camera law. You know, I think whatever inconvenience drivers might face with the expansion of speed cameras, it's worth saving lives. And we're talking about the lives of kids, Madam President. Every morning, my husband and I walk our 4-year-old to pre-K at 6th Avenue and 11th Street. And every morning, invariably, we'll see a car speeding up 6th. And I welcome these cameras for the safety of New York City school children, for the safety of pedestrians and cyclists, for the safety of my own daughter and my husband as we make our daily routine to the classroom. And let me also add that I echo my colleague's sentiment in terms of the perseverance and advocacy on the part of Families for Safe Streets. Let me just mention Sammy Cohen Eckstein, who lost his young life at age 12, just months before his bar mitzvah, but his family, his mother and grandmother in particular, have turned that pain into progress, which we witnessed on the floor of the Senate today. So I congratulate them, and Senator Gennardis, I vote aye.
Senator Hoylman to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Gennardis to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I know it's been a long day, and folks, we have a lot more work left to be done, so I'll try to keep some of my rebuttal to Senator Lanza very, very brief in the interest of time. And I do appreciate his passion for this issue. I know he's serious about it because, to his credit, he was one of the first sponsors of a speed camera bill in this chamber. So I know he's given a lot of time and attention to this bill. That was almost a decade ago, Senator Lanza. And I'm not going to sit here and defend the actions of the de Blasio administration and what they told you and what they did and how they misled you and how you experience interacting with them. But I will just say this, speed cameras save lives. We know that since this program was enacted, speeding is reduced by 72% across the city. In fact, in Staten Island, 76%, higher than the city average. Senator Lanza was talking about the stretch of Highland Boulevard. I can tell you the entire stretch of Highland Boulevard, nearly 1,000 crashes have resulted since 2014 along the entire stretch of Highland Boulevard. The speed cameras on Highland Boulevard have reduced speeding there by 88%. 88%. Those numbers are staggering. and they prove how effective these programs actually are. And I know folks like to say that this is all about a money grab and that we're taxing people who are speeding and it's not fair to them. Let's say a couple things straight. Number one, if this is a tax, it's the easiest tax to evade. Because the easiest way to evade paying this is not to speed 11 miles or more over the speed limit. We're not talking 1 mile, we're not talking 2 miles, we're not talking 3 or 4 or 5, we're talking 11 miles or more over the limit. And let's talk about the revenue that this program generates. Since this program was created, less than $20 million a year in net revenue. Let me repeat that again. Less than $20 million a year in net revenue per year generated to the city out of a budget that right now stands at $100 billion. In the last 8 years, the city has invested $1.5 billion into the Vision Zero program off of that $19+ million a year net revenue. In the next 2 years alone, the City of New York has committed to $1.6 billion to help implement the reality of Vision Zero. The new DOT commissioner and the new mayor have pledged to fix the 1,000 most dangerous intersections and corridors in our city. So while I can't stand here and defend the actions of the prior administration, I can tell you that the commitment from this administration under this program and with the expansion and renewal that we are authorizing today, we are going to see a marked reduction in traffic violence on our streets at a time when traffic deaths are at their highest in a decade. That's what this bill is about. That's what this vote is about. And I cannot tell you how important this is as someone whose family was affected by the loss of a loved one due to a traffic crash. It wasn't an accident, it was a crash. Because accidents are, oops, I didn't mean to. When you're speeding, and you're driving a car recklessly, and you're driving over the speed limit, and you hit another car, and you take someone's life, that's not, oops, I didn't mean to. You had full agency behind the wheel. That was a choice. It's not an accident, it's a crash. My family was affected by a traffic crash. My grandmother lost her daughter to a traffic crash. So my family knows the pain that these families are suffering. Right now in New York City, traffic that's at an all-time high. That's why this program is so important. That's why I'm so committed to seeing the success of this program. And I thank Senator Lanza for his advocacy on this. And I recognize that it's not a perfect program, but we know that it has saved lives and will continue to save lives. And that's why I proudly vote aye. Thank you.
Senator Gennard is to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Krueger to explain her vote.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I was very interested in listening to my colleague Senator Lanza's objection to the bill, and I have spoken to my colleague Senator Gennardis about the importance of the bill, and I share his view. But I just wanted to point out, as I think my colleague Senator Hoylman did, you know, people can have their debates over fines and the cost of tickets, but the intention of this law, and even more importantly, the outcome of the law, has been to save lives. And there has been data that shows the hours and the locations when they turn the cameras off is when there are more accidents and more people are harmed. And New York City is a 24-hour city. So to say just in certain hours, because that's in theory school hours, really doesn't make sense when you've already done the research from your own program and see we're saving lives and we could save more lives. And I think it's interesting that there was a point made about the little small roads with very little traffic on them aren't getting the cameras. Well, I would suspect, like in every other decision government makes, it's because those roads don't have that much traffic speeding along because they're the little roads. And so maybe we should have cameras on every corner and on every street post. I would suspect there would be real expenses there and some additional concerns, but I would be open to that. But the fact is, we know that particularly in the most crowded areas of New York City, such as my wonderful borough of Manhattan, that yes, we all have to fit on the head of a pin and share roadways and sidewalks and bus lanes and bike lanes that frankly none of which are big enough to fit us all, so that if we don't do traffic slowing, traffic calming policy, we keep seeing people get killed. So I'm with Senator Jackson. I don't think I have gotten one of these tickets, and I do drive in Manhattan, but if I got one, I'd be damn well careful never to get one again, because I don't even want to imagine a world where I wake up one day and realize I was responsible for hitting someone with my car because I wasn't watching carefully enough or I was going too fast. So I proudly vote yes, Madam President. Thank you.
Senator Krueger, to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1533, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Boyle, Felder, Gallivan, Griffo, Boyle, Felder, Gallivan, Griffo, Lanza, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Sereno, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 51, ayes 52, nays 11.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1620, Assembly number 5499 by Assemblymember Glick, an act authorizing the Commissioner of Health to conduct a study and issue a report examining the unmet health and resource needs facing pregnant women in New York.
There's a substitution at the desk. The Secretary will read. I'm sorry. Senator Borrello, why do you rise?
Thank you, Madam President. Would the sponsor yield for a question?
Yes, Madam President.
Senator yields.
Thank you, Senator Hoyman. I know that the title of this bill says you're looking at addressing the unmet needs of, of pregnant women. But really, if I'm reading this bill, this really is a study focused specifically on pregnancy resource centers. So my question is, unlike Planned Parenthood, which receives state funding, these are private entities that receive no taxpayer money. What's the state's interest in this study?
Through you, Madam President. Yes, my colleague is partly correct. This legislation would direct the Commissioner of Health to conduct a study on what are called limited services pregnancy centers to further understand their practices as well as existing gaps in health care and resources to support pregnant patients here in New York. Now, we have to understand what these limited service pregnancy centers are. They are entities that often do not charge anything, but only offer limited pregnancy-related services, such as pregnancy tests, ultrasounds. Some of them provide diapers, baby and maternity clothes, referral to social services, car seats, and prenatal vitamins. And if you just Google, as I did earlier this afternoon, and look, if you Google abortion clinic near me, as I did, you'll find that these limited service pregnancy centers will pop up. The first one that pops up here in the Albany area is Alpha Pregnancy Care Center. Now, the truth is that these are unlicensed entities that potentially do interrupt the services that a pregnant person needs in a prenatal context especially. When a person becomes pregnant and decides to continue the pregnancy, it's so important that prenatal care is connected to the healthier pregnancy as well as maternal and infant health. This delayed access to prenatal care, abortion, and emergency contraception all poses a risk to public health. So I would say, Madam President, through you, that is the state's interest. We have an interest in making certain that every New Yorker gets the prenatal health care, the abortion options, emergency contraception that they need to make sound and healthy medical decisions.
Madam President, will sponsor continue to yield?
Senator Hoyman, you continue to yield.
Yes, I do.
Senator yields.
Through you, Madam President, I mean, providing diapers and pregnancy tests doesn't sound horrible to me, but you did mention the idea that if you Google abortion services that one of these pregnancy resource centers pops up. Well, I can tell you if you Google the name of my restaurant, my competitor actually pops up first. So I can't tell you that that's necessarily the fault of anyone in particular, but I will tell you, or I will ask you, are you aware of any of these pregnancy resource centers that are actually putting themselves forth as abortion clinics?
Through you, Madam President, there have been a number of examinations of these limited service pregnancy centers. The GAO conducted one. The New York State Attorney General, a number of advocacy groups have looked at them. They are proliferating quite significantly. There's over 2,500 in the United States and over 100 in the state of New York. And as we look to our state and our nation post-Roe, depending on the Supreme Court's decision, which we all expect soon, currently, 16 million women in the United States live closer to one of these limited services pregnancy centers than an abortion facility. Post-Roe, after that decision is rendered, that draft decision where fully 1/2 or more of states may criminalize abortion, that number is going to leap to 34 million. And the number of Black and Latinas who live closer to a limited services pregnancy center than an abortion facility is going to triple. So these facilities are proliferating. We have a responsibility here in the state of New York because we're going to have a lot of non-New Yorkers coming to this state for abortion care. In fact, that's part of our package today, is to prepare this state for that influx of Americans seeking that basic constitutional right, as we see it, the freedom of autonomy.
Madam President, will the sponsor continue to yield?
Senator Hoyman, you continue to yield?
Yes.
Senator Yields.
Well, I appreciate your answer, but I didn't actually get the answer I asked to the question that I asked, was, are you aware of any of these pregnancy resource centers actually putting themselves forth as an abortion clinic? But I'll pass on that for now because I didn't get an answer. I'll assume the answer is no. But to speak to your question of, are they providing the services? Is there some kind of false advertising? Are they providing the services that they are advertising? So will this study also include abortion clinics that provide abortions to ensure that they are actually giving a whole host, a whole spectrum of counseling services to ensure they too are also meeting that need?
Through you, Madam President. Well, as I mentioned, and I apologize if I wasn't clear, there are a number of studies that do show that some of these limited service pregnancy centers do hold themselves out as medical clinics. For example, you're greeted at the door sometimes by an individual in scrubs or with a white lab coat. Sometimes limited service pregnancy centers provide what would appear to be medically certified services, such as sonograms. So there is confusion, but that's the whole point of this study, Madam President, is to understand what the impact of limited service pregnancy centers are on a pregnant individual's health care and identify resource and health care gaps in our state. So exactly the point that we're trying to make with this study, Bill, Madam President, is to understand what the impact of limited service pregnancy centers are on health care and the service gaps that we see, particularly in low income and communities of color.
Madam President, will the sponsor continue to yield?
Do you continue to yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator Yields.
Thank you, Madam President. So the last question I asked was, will this study also apply to abortion clinics that provide abortions to ensure that they are also offering a full spectrum of counseling services like alternatives to abortion? Will this study actually be addressing abortion clinics and ensuring that they are doing that?
The answer is no. If they are this study would only apply, Madam President, as defined in the bill, to unlicensed entities that offer limited pregnancy-related services, such as pregnancy tests or ultrasounds. Abortion clinics are licensed. They are medical facilities.
Madam President, will the sponsor continue to yield?
Senator Hoyman, do you continue to yield?
Yes.
Senator Yields.
So will the study that's authorized by this legislation also be looking into funding sources and data from these organizations on funding sources?
Through you, Madam President, yes. There is in the bill, you can see a list of factors that will be examined. Number one is what state and or federal funds or tax or other subsidies, if any, directly or indirectly allocated to limited service pregnancy centers in the state.
Madam President, will sponsor continue to yield?
Senator Hoylman, you continue to yield?
Yes, Madam
Senator
President.
yield.
So what's the state's interest in the funding of these centers, and will they also be seeking the same information from funding for abortion clinics? Because I will point out that there was a recent expose where Planned Parenthood was actually caught on hidden camera selling fetal body parts and tissue for remuneration. So if we're going to be looking at funding sources from a for-profit company, I might add, that they were selling fetal tissue to, shouldn't we also be looking at abortion clinics and where their funding is coming from?
Through you, Madam President, to answer my colleague on the other side of the, I was going to say on the other side of the aisle. We're actually on the same side of the aisle. That's awkward.
We can't sit
yeah.
right next to each other. So.
Yeah, a little close there, colleague. Just kidding. No, this bill, it's black and white in the definition of a limited services pregnancy center. It is a facility or entity, including a mobile facility, the primary purpose of which is to provide services to clients who are or may be pregnant, that is not licensed by the state of New York. Abortion clinics, abortion facilities are licensed by the state of New York.
Madam President, sponsor continue to yield?
You continue to yield?
Yes.
Senator yield.
So we're going to ask them for their funding sources and other data, but we're only going to ask it of the pregnancy resource centers, but not abortion clinics. Just want to be sure I'm clear on the answer to that.
Through you, Madam President, the answer is yes. This is a study bill on limited service pregnancy centers, which are specifically defined in the legislation as being non-licensed medical facilities.
Madam President, on the bill.
Senator Borrello on the bill.
Thank you, Senator Hoylman, from not on the other side of the aisle at the moment, but I understand. I guess my concern here is that we're going to create a study to study one side of what are considered to be pregnancy counseling. We're going to study those folks whose mission it is, really, to say that we want to provide information and alternatives to abortion. That's their mission. Now, we might say, well, they're not telling about abortion. May or may not be the case. But the bottom line is, we have those folks that do provide abortions. And in the case of organizations like Planned Parenthood, they actually get funding by selling fetal tissue, fetal organs to organizations for a very high dollar amount, and that is a part of their funding. So I don't see what their incentive is to counsel the other way. So if we're going to perform a study, let's perform a complete study. And let's see what's actually going on with those who provide services of abortion and those who provide services to support those that are pregnant. This bill does not do that. What this does is it targets those who would like to provide an alternative to abortion and also other services. As Senator Hoylman mentioned, they provide pregnancy tests, sonograms, diapers, information. But to sit here and say that we're going to target one particular segment of this women's health services is just not fair. I actually kind of liken it to the sham study that NYSERDA is doing right now to determine whether or not they want to put industrial wind turbines in our freshwater lakes. The entire study is loaded with people that only do green energy. There's not a single person that knows anything about hydrology or anything about fisheries, habitats. I mean, that's a poor comparison, but the bottom line is this is not a comprehensive study. This is an attack on one particular segment that some folks don't particularly like. They don't like the idea that someone is saying that there's an alternative to an abortion. I personally know folks who've had abortions, and they've had regrets, and they felt that they didn't get enough information when they were young, particularly when they were young. So are we giving a full spectrum of services? Well, I don't know, when you are generating an invoice for $25,000 to a company called STEM Express for fetal body parts, I'm not sure what your motivation is. That's a frightening name for a company, by the way, STEM Express. And that's what Planned Parenthood does. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about a lot of bills today. This supplemental calendar, most of it is really for show, honestly. There's really not a lot that's going to happen here, because if Roe versus Wade is overturned tomorrow, you will still be able to get an abortion till the moment of birth here in New York State. That's not going to change. I'm personally abhorred by that, but it's not going to change. So what this really is, this little suite of bills today, was more or less the One-Party Rule Preservation Act. Nothing much is going to happen with any of these bills today. However, this one in particular is going to do something. It's going to target those folks who want to provide information to pregnant women at probably the most vulnerable time in their lives and ensure that they are not subject to some additional help, a fuller, better, more broader spectrum of what the consequences of abortion might be. So, Madam President, I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. The Secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 2, this action take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Majority Leader Stewart-Cousins to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. As we count down the remaining days of session, we are viscerally reminded that there is no end to the fight for our rights. In light of the horrific rollbacks, the inaction on a federal level, New York must once again take up the mantle and lead where other levels of government have failed. We rely on Congress and the Supreme Court to set the floor for our nation, the bare minimum standards to be enforced for our general well-being. They've failed this mandate. As the federal government falls short on basic voter protections, our activist Supreme Court continuously issues rulings that permit racial discrimination and voter suppression to flourish. Republican lawmakers have been waging a war to weaken the Voting Rights Act, eviscerating our electoral protections at the state level and keeping Americans from exercising their most fundamental rights. Standing here today in 2022, I think about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s 1957 speech. It was called "Give Us the Ballot." In that speech, he implored leaders to expand the franchise to Black Americans so that their voices could finally be heard. And what he said was, give us the ballot, and we'll no longer have to worry the federal government about our basic rights. Give us the ballot, and we'll fill our legislative halls with men, and I'd say, he would have said, and women of goodwill. Madam President, how ironic that today, 65 years after Dr. King delivered that speech, America is once again asking to give us the ballot so that we can make the most fundamental choices, the ones by which we hold power accountable, we ensure laws and regulations truly reflect the will of the people. There's nothing democratic about a handful of people unilaterally gutting laws that are supported by the majority of Americans. That's why the leaked Supreme Court decision that would reverse Roe is our 5-alarm fire. The criminalization of women's bodies and of doctors fulfilling their sacred oath is only the beginning of what we could lose. Not a single freedom that we currently enjoy is safe or guaranteed unless I'm told it was in the original document, which is kind of scary. Too many think that they can steal our democracy without us noticing until it's too late. But we in this chamber will not stand idly by while these fundamental rights are chipped away around us. We'll no longer wait for Congress to act. States are the last line of defense against these authoritarian trends and the final check against an unaccountable federal government. New York has led the nation before. We will do it again. Our passage of the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act and the strengthening of our reproductive health protections serve as a model for other states to follow. I'm proud that New York is standing as a true bastion of civil rights in spite of the anti-democratic rollbacks being set forth by Republicans across the nation. Our state is a long-standing safe harbor for those seeking refuge, and we will open our arms once again to fellow Americans in need. With these legislative templates, I urge other states to take up similar measures and forge a true network of destination states across the U.S. Representative John Lewis once said, "Freedom is not a state, it's an act. It is not some enchanted garden perched high on a distant plateau where we can finally sit down and rest. Freedom is the continuous action we all must take." I commend my colleagues, my fellow lawmakers, for taking these actions, and I urge all of us to build on this momentum for the fight ahead. We'll not stop, we won't rest until every right that we hold dear or guaranteed for every American is here in New York. Madam President, I vote aye.
Majority Leader Stuart Cousins to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 1620, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 44, nays 19.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris. That completes the reading of the controversial calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. If we could return to motions for 1 second. On behalf of Senator Brooks, on page 39, I offer the following amendments to calendar 1281, Senate Print 8927, and ask that said bill retain its place on the third reading calendar.
The amendments are received, and the bill will retain its place on the third reading calendar.
I believe there is another report of the Rules Committee at the desk. Can we take that up at this time?
Secretary will read.
Senator Stuart Cousins from the Committee on Rules reports the following bills. Senate Print 621B by Senator Sanders, an act to amend the penal law. Senate Print 954 by Senator Gorin, an act to amend the vehicle and traffic law. Senate Print 1358A by Senator Serrano, an act to amend the arts and cultural affairs and economic development law. Senate Print 1553D by Senator Myrie, an act to amend the criminal procedure law. Senate Print 1608 by Senator Granardes, an act to amend the civil service law. Senate Print 1903A by Senator Skoufis, an act to amend the highway law. Senate Print 2045 by Senator Tedisco, an act to amend the county law. Senate Print 3164A by Senator Sepulveda, an act to amend the Surrogate Courts Procedure Act. Senate Print 3212A by Senator Sepulveda, an act to amend the Agriculture and Markets Law. Senate Print 3449 by Senator Hinchy, an act to amend the Highway Law. Senate Print 3722A by Senator Ort, an act to authorize the County of Orleans to offer an optional 20-year retirement plan to Kevin Colonna. Senate Print 3723A by Senator Ort, an act to authorize the County of Orleans to offer an optional 20-year retirement plan to Ryan Flaherty. Senate Print 4869A by Senator Gorin, an act granting retroactive membership with Tier 2 status in the New York State Teachers Retirement System to Lori Cohen. Senate Print 5013A by Senator Palumbo, an act to provide procedures relating to the adoption and submission of an annual budget by the trustees of freeholders and commonality. Senate Print 5406A by Senator Reckler Melnick, an act in relation to authorizing Harvey Eilbaum to file a request for change of beneficiary with the New York State and local employees retirement system. Senate Print 6223A by Senator Reckler Melnick, an act in relation to authorizing Thomas Collins to file a request for change of benefit coverage with the New York State teachers retirement system. Senate Print 6224A by Senator Reckler Melnick, an act to authorize Jody Mann to receive a refund from the New York State teacher retirement system. Senate Print 6453C by Senator Parker, an act to amend the public authorities law. Senate Print 6544C by Senator Gallivan, an act to amend the highway law. Senate Print 6589A by Senator Prasad, an act to amend the social services law. Senate Print 7199A by Senator Granardes, an act to amend the insurance law. Senate Print 7240A by Senator Rath, an act granting retroactive Tier 3 membership in the New York State and local employees retirement system to Stephen R. Grice. Senate Print 7413 by Senator Ort, an act to amend Chapter 20 of the laws of 1985. Senate Print 7739C by Senator Palumbo, an act in relation to authorizing the County of Suffolk to transfer ownership of certain parkland. Senate Print 7746B by Senator Mannion, an act in relation to directing the New York State Office for People with Developmental Disabilities to establish a voluntary training and certification program. Senate Print 7857A by Senator Skoufis, an act in relation to requiring the Commissioner of Taxation and Finance to study the frequency of residents who are being assessed library taxes. Senate Print 7903 7903B by Senator Martucci, an act to amend the highway law. Senate Print 8031A by Senator Felder, an act to amend the vehicle and traffic law. Senate Print 8033A by Senator Bailey, an act to amend the tax law. Senate Print 8113 by Senator Claire, an act to amend the public health law and the insurance law. Senate Print 8146A by Senator Skoufis, an act to amend the state finance law and the real property tax law. Senate Print 8297A by Senator Gurnardis, an act to amend the civil practice law and rules. Senate Print 8430A by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the real property actions and proceedings law. Senate Print 8451 by Senator Cooney, an act to amend the labor law. Senate Print 8474 by Senator Sanders, an act to amend the environmental conservation law. Senate Print 8477 by Senator Jackson, an act to amend the retirement and social security law. Senate Print 8516 by Senator Savino, an act in relation to establishing the fentanyl abuse and overdose prevention task force. Senate Print 8523A by Senator Savino, an act to amend the general business law. Senate Print 8527 by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the public authorities law. Senate Print 8536A by Senator Thomas, an act to amend the education law. Senate Print 8553A by Senator Harkam, an act to amend the executive law. Senate Print 8676 by Senator Martucci, an act granting retroactive Tier 4 membership in the New York State and local employees retirement system to Mark Pavlak. Senate Print 8678 by Senator Brooke, an act to amend the general business law. Senate Print 8689B by Senator Thomas, an act in relation to authorizing the County of Nassau assessor to accept an application for a real property tax exemption. Senate Print 8710 by Senator Brooke, an act to amend the transportation law. Senate Print 8736A by Senator Mannion, an act to amend the public authorities law. Senate Print 8757 by Senator Helming, an act in relation to authorizing the town of Webster, County of Monroe, to alienate certain lands used as parkland. Senate Print 8763A by Senator Gorin, an act to amend the civil practice law and rules. Senate Print 8775 by Senator Cooney, an act extending the time within which certain elected officials may file their oaths of office. Senate Print 8831 by Senator Ramos, an act to amend the public authorities law. Senate Print 8832 by Senator Boyle, an act authorizing the town board of the town of Islip, County of Suffolk, to transfer funds from the Kismet Street Improvement District. Senate Print 8837 by Senator Savino, an act to amend the public health law and the social services law. Senate Print 8862 by Senator Claire, an act directing the Metropolitan Transportation Authority to study the transportation and housing needs of Randall's and Ward's Islands. Senate Print 8864 by Senator Matera, an act in relation to authorize the assessor of the town of Brookhaven, County of Suffolk, to accept an application for exemption from real property taxes. Senate Print 8874 by Senator Reichlin Melnick, an act to amend the executive law and the state finance law. Senate Print 8881A by Senator Reichlin Melnick, an act to authorize the assessor of the town of Ramapo, County of Rockland, to accept an application for a real property tax exemption. Senate Print 8887A by Senator Cooney, an act to amend the general municipal law. Senate Print 8930 by Senator Reichlin Melnick, an act to authorize a study on the proposed improvements of State Route 303 in the town of Orangetown. Senate Print 8934 by Senator Cooney, an act in relation to conducting the study of public and private museums in New York State. Senate Print 8593 by Senator Kaplan, an act to amend the vehicle and traffic law. Senate Print 8956C by Senator Mannion, an act to amend the public authorities law. Senate Print 8957 by Senator Myrie, an act to amend the election law and the state finance law. Senate Print 8959 by Senator Sabino, an act to amend the retirement and social security law. Senate Print 8972A by Senator Salazar, an act to amend the social services law. Senate Print 8985 by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the judiciary law. Senate Print 9036 by Senator Breslin, an act to amend the real property action and proceedings law. Senate Print 9068 by Senator Reichlin Melnick, an act to amend the tax law. Senate Print 9093 by Senator Hallman, an act to amend the alcoholic beverage control law. Senate Print 9098 by Senator Kennedy, an act to amend the public authorities law. Senate Print 9102 by Senator Mannion, an act to direct the Department of Civil Service to study certain airport-related titles. Senate Print 9106 by Senator Passard, an act to amend the social services law. Senate Print 9121 by Senator Mayer, an act to amend Chapter 667 of the laws of 2021. Senate Print 9128A by Senator Breslin, an act to amend the navigation law. Senate Print 9131 by Senator Reichlin Melnick, an act to amend the real property tax law. Senate Print 9138 by Senator Biaggi, an act to amend the vehicle and traffic law. Senate Print 9162A by Senator Thomas, an act extending the time within which certain appointed officials may take or file their oaths of office or official undertakings. Senate Print 9163 by Senator Gurnardis, an act to amend the vehicle and traffic law. Senate Print 9170A by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the not-for-profit corporation law. Senate Print 9172 by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the education law. Senate Print 9177B by Senator Cooney, an act to amend the executive law. Senate Print 9185 by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the public health law. Senate Print 9193 by Senator Henchy, an act to amend the private housing finance law. Senate Print 9196 by Senator Kaminsky, an act authorizing the Bice Torah Tefillah to receive retroactive real property tax exemption status. Senate Print 9207 by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the Social Services Law. Senate Print 9272 by Senator May, an act to amend the Not-for-Profit Corporation Law. Senate Print 9293A by Senator Gurnardes, an act to amend the Civil Rights Law. Senate Print 9310 by Senator Breslin, an act authorizing the City of Troy to lease subsurface parkland property referred to as Riverfront Park. Senate Print 9318 by Senator Brooks, an act to amend the tax law. Senate Print 9327 by Senator Bailey, an act to amend the Retirement and Social Security Law. Senate Print 9345 by Senator Palumbo, an act to amend the Environmental Conservation Law. Senate Print 9367 by Senator Breslin, an act to amend the Insurance Law. Senate Print 9369A by Senator Reichland Melnick, an act to authorize the assessor of the town of Ramapo, county of Rockland, to accept an application for a real property tax exemption. Senate Print 9370 by Senator Jackson, an act to amend the Workers' Compensation Law. Senate Print 9374 by Senator Reichland Melnick, an act to amend the Public Officers Law and the Village Law. Senate Print 9403A by Senator Ramos, an act to amend the Labor Law. Senate Print 9413 by Senator Stuart Cousins, an act to amend the Real Property Tax Law and the Real Property Law. Senate Print 9418 by Senator Gorin, an act to amend the Local Finance Law. Senate Print 9419 by Senator Kaminsky, an act to amend the Environmental Conservation Law. Senate Print 9423 by Senator Salazar, an act to amend the Correction Law. Senate Print 9424 by Senator Kennedy, an act to amend the Workers' Compensation Law. Senate Print 9427A by Senator Ramos, an act to amend the Labor Law. Senate Print 9432 by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the Public Authorities Law. Senate Print 9445 by Senator Gianaris, an act to amend the Agriculture and Markets Law. Senate Print 9446 by Senator Myrie, an act to amend the Tax Law. Senate Print 9450 by Senator Gianaris, an act to amend the Labor Law. All bills report direct to third reader.
Accept the report of the Rules Committee.
All those in favor of accepting the report of the Rules Committee, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The report of the Rules Committee is accepted. Senator Gianaris.
Thank you, Madam President. Is there any further business at the desk?
I'm happy to say there's no further business at the desk.
I move to adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, June 1st at 12 p.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Wednesday, June 1st at 12 p.m.